You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
I say they're a hard-nosed program. I believe that's also the way I, play. And I wanted to be part of the culture. I said this a while ago. Really just came from I seen Jalen Carter Instagram handle, and I was like, man, that's a solid nickname if you just brand it right and just keep being a great player. So that's what really came to mind. Then after, I think I just took it behind myself, to just brand it and just keep playing ball and just let the name stick to me, and eventually it did.
It's been great. I think every time we've all created a big relationship, and I think just as time goes on, we've gotten better. Yeah, I think obviously when you're hurt, you just have a big focus on just strength and lifting when you're in the early stages of just trying to get rehab and stuff like that. So I focused a lot on my strength, just getting stronger, building my body, gaining good weight. That's kind of been my big focus. And then, just trying to refine all my techniques and fix different things here and there once I've got back to playing in camp.
Good morning. Welcome in Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Mayo Medical. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. What's up, Austin?
I don't know. I should come prepared for that question.
I
ask it every morning.
Bit.
Yeah. I want to let you know I did consider trying to do the C4 today.
Did you?
I did. It was on my mind last night that I was like, maybe tomorrow's the day. And then I woke up, and you ever just have those extremely tired mornings?
Yeah.
Yeah. That was me today, and I'm not even diabetic. So, I don't even have, the issue
No,
with
but
it.
you had the Schick and Nick event last night.
Yeah, you were out later than me, though.
I was, but I wasn't, working the event. I was just hanging out.
Yeah.
So it's a little different stress level.
But you did a lot of, socializing.
I did.
Sometimes the socializing can really the harder reset, I think, sometimes is that socializing decompression, because that seems to be a little bit longer. It has a longer runway at the end of the night rather than the next morning. Because this morning I woke up, and last night I just had to decompress for a long time. It was an hour and a half before I was like, okay, I'm ready for bed. Yeah. Then I woke up and was ready to roll.
I think part of it is it depends. The socializing is kind of on a spectrum, right?
Right.
It's not all socializing is.
Those are two dudes you don't get to see very often.
They are, but they're guys that I like a lot, and
That's
so
true.
it's very easy to socialize with them, and it was very natural, right? Yeah. There's times, and I love the Pinnacle Bank Championship, but there's times where it's people I don't know very well. A lot of times it's complete strangers to me in the Hurrdat Pavilion that are business associates of somebody else, or they're there for various reasons, and then I have these conversations with them. That to me is a much more energy requiring kind of situation than Schick and Nick are just so easy to talk to that it does. I don't feel like it drains me at all.
And also, this is first world problems sort of thing. But at PBC, I'm sure you get this a bunch, but people will just waltz up to you and ask you the same Husker football questions
100%.
100 times.
This year was actually worse too, because not the first 2 days. The first 2 days it was all, what do you think the record's going to be? Which I listen. If you ever see me, feel free to ask. It's totally okay.
Right. Yeah. This is a unique environment where we're surrounded by 300 people.
And it is condensed, where it just is boom, 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 boom. And I never mind talking about it, but it does get a little tiring at a certain point. And then on top of that, we found out DB was leaving the show at noon on Friday.
Yep. And so then what became the question?
So the back half of the weekend was, what happened with DB? Who's going to be your new co-host? All this kind of stuff. And then, now what do you think our record's going to be? So that was this year was particularly draining for me, because I'll be totally honest with you. DB and I are very close. It was emotional for me that he was moving on.
Yeah.
I was happy for him.
That's why I was trying to check in on you.
I wasn't worried about the show, because I knew we had a plan in place for you to cover at least through football season. So I was like, the show's going to be fine. I had talked to Bill and Chris and Sasha, and they're like, hey, we love the show. We love you guys. It's going to be okay. But so just from a personal standpoint, though, I don't think I've really talked about this on the air. It was emotional for me that it's one of my best friends in the world, who I talk to for 3 hours every day, is now in a he is. I think I've said this before, but people don't understand when you do this job. I talk to the person in that chair more than I talk to anyone else in my life.
That's a good point.
That's a full my wife and I get along really well. There's no problems there. Yeah. It's just she works, I work. I never talk to anyone else in my life for 3 uninterrupted hours. That's just not a thing, and I don't think anybody else does either, right? So whoever sits in that chair is the person I talk to the most in the world. And DB and I were already close.
Mhm.
And then you add that on top of it. It was like, it felt like I was mourning something, honestly, which was a weird thing because obviously DB's alive and well and got a great job.
I don't know. Our post made it look like an obituary. That was tough. That was a tough Saturday.
It was it was a little
it was a little dramatic.
What happened? It was a little
Yes, Shane. Yes. That's exactly what it was.
Man, Shane has been on the drops the last couple of days. Well done, Shane.
I went back. I watched film last night, getting back from Schick and Nick. That was very funny, Shane.
Yeah.
The amount of people, and we had a lot of people. I don't know, Shane, if you saw it, but there was a lot of people tweeting at us, just giving you props.
Yeah, they
falling out of chairs.
They're doing a good job.
All the drops. Good stuff.
What happened? But it felt like there was like sort of a little bit of a mourning period there. And this is happening while I am around a ton of people
That are asking the same question.
all asking me about the thing that I am mourning. Right. And so that was particularly draining for me this year. Whereas last night it was just, I was sitting at a group with the guys from Peerless Energy. And Josh is awesome.
Josh is great.
Super cool dude. Like I never hard to hang out with that guy. And then Mustache Adam, who's in the chat a lot. And then their friend Joe, I was golfing with as well. And then I sat with them last night. Like super easy guys to talk to.
That's the same Mustache Adam. No mustache?
It was there. It was a little.
I thought it was going to be more pronounced. I was expecting like the evil little curl or something like that. But
You thought he was going to go like full Selleck?
Yeah, that's what I thought. But then for a guy who nicknames himself Mustache Adam, I was hoping for a little more mustache.
It was more like Lumineer's Stomp Clap than it was Tom Selleck.
He didn't have the big hat on though.
He didn't have a hat. He wasn't wearing a vest or anything. There were no suspenders. But he's about my age, so he's very familiar with like he looks more like he could be a backup singer in Mumford and Sons than he's going to be a PI in the 80s.
Never stopped smiling. That was awesome.
Terrific dude.
Yeah,
and really good golfer.
Really,
like really good golfer.
Interesting.
We were four.
So that was your group.
Yeah, we were 4 under, and he carried us.
Well, also notably, Indian Creek, not the easiest course in the world.
No,
either.
he killed that thing though. He's very good.
Did they give you easier pin placements than where you were a couple weekends ago?
I didn't play a couple weekends ago.
Oh, I thought you played.
No, I was supposed to. That was coming off of that weekend though, and I was like, Gorman, please don't make me go back out there.
I can't do
I'm
it. Traumatized.
And he's like, no, don't worry, we got you. And luckily, anytime we need an extra golfer, Andy Rosenau is just like, boom.
That was some of the funniest parts of those videos and the montages of using Nick's laugh to distract people. Is Andy's like in the middle of them, and I was like, Andy doesn't even know what's going on.
No,
he legitimately probably heard it and was like, what actually was that?
Yeah, he's like, why is there a velociraptor screaming at me in the background? No, so last night
I do have all the Nick laughs like loaded. This I could put them in if we need.
Incredible, I love it.
Shane, do you want some Nick Ball laughs? Would that be something you're interested in?
Sure.
Okay.
Shane was at one point the producer of Schick and Nick, the original radio show.
That's right. We figured that out yesterday.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Oh yeah.
Me likey.
That was almost right on key. That was
pretty good.
But no, so talking to Schick and Nick, those guys are awesome. It was super fun.
Also, I mean, you would talk about long days. Schick was like emailing me at 2 a.m. yesterday, getting ready for his flight from Charlotte, flew in, did the golf event, did the live show, stayed out with you for a little bit. And then I think his flight this morning was at 6.
It was, yeah. Whew. Yeah, it was.
And I think he has a radio show today.
It was a quick turnaround. He does, yeah. So and actually, this is good information. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, he does a Big Ten show on Sirius. But Tuesday, Thursday, he did offer his services as a guest. So we're definitely going to hit him up on that.
That'll be awesome.
Yeah, because I thought it was every day. And he's like, my Tuesday, Thursday mornings are actually pretty open. So I think we've got an opportunity. And he's East Coast.
We have
so
we have a huge gap of ACC knowledge that we're missing. And truthfully, I'll be honest, every time the ACC on ESPN pops up on my channel, I usually turn it because I don't care. Like, they're just like, we're talking Cavaliers today. Well, I ain't doing that.
And I mean, he can talk things other than the ACC. He is an ACC country, but all things college football, he's great at. So we'll probably talk to Matt. And Nick's a little harder to nail down with his broadcast schedule, but I think we're going to get Nick during college basketball too. So
that'd be great. Gosh.
Yeah. It was a big day for me. It's good to have
friends in high places.
I actually got both of their phone numbers.
Bang.
So I was like, man, we're going places.
I have Nick's number, but he never texts me back, which is fine. So it may not be his number.
No, he's apparently he's just very bad at
Yes,
texting
that's
people back.
what he told me. I was making fun of him.
We learned from Severe last night.
Yes. And then Schick, Schick, very funny, was he just emails me everything, and I sent my number to him multiple times, and he goes, "I just prefer having a professional relationship." That's fine, Schick. No issue there. At least you told me.
And Mustache Adam says, "You guys are killing me this morning regarding my mustache not being as pronounced." Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. I had the wrong mustache.
Anyway.
Anywho. God, we got to find Wayne.
Wayne and Aurora.
Okay, so before we got started, we almost got into fisticuffs.
We
right
did
as
get
the show was literally
we did
kicking
get
off.
into a fight as the show was starting, which is not a great way to start the morning.
Yeah, we haven't made up yet, but it's fine because you're wrong.
I'm not. So we have to get into this a little
Please,
bit
yes.
because so I had breakfast pizza this
even gonna
morning.
pull it out.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah.
I'm
I'm not afraid of germs. I got rabies once.
Look
Look at this.
You get your shot.
This is this man.
Can
Look at this.
we zoom in on Austin here?
No, okay, yeah. Whatever. No, do this. I'm not wrong. It's this guy. Who did this? This guy.
So this is the remnants of my breakfast pizza.
You just left the skeleton of a breakfast pizza and you don't eat the crust. And I immediately said, you worked so hard to get to the end.
And I said, it's the worst part. Why would I finish there?
It's the best part.
No, that's not true at all. It's like
a free breadstick.
the crust at the end of a pizza is, I'm not saying it's bad, but it is by far the worst part of the pizza.
I don't think it's the worst part of the pizza. See?
False. That's false. That is
See?
false.
So
Look at
you
that.
like the part of the pizza that has no sauce, no toppings, no cheese the most?
If you have good pizza, that can be the best part.
You're out of your mind.
No, I'm not.
You're like Shane over there. You just want bread.
That's fine. Listen, I've been poor. Like bread, butter, and college. That's what I'd have for dinner sometimes. All right. That's my slice of pizza right there. I'm for it.
That's insane. I'm not saying the crust is bad.
Okay.
I'm saying,
Describe to me, give me your best and worst parts of a pizza slice then.
I mean, the best part is like probably in the middle where you get like a nice concentration
Wrong.
of cheese sauce and crust.
Oh, so now you do like crust. Interesting.
I never said crust was bad. Crust by itself is the worst part of the pizza.
That's simply just not true. It's
Like,
simply not true.
If you just go get breadsticks then, brother. What are we talking about?
Let's differentiate this too, because this is going to get out of control and out of proportion very early. Much like we were talking about the AFC North yesterday, the margins on a pizza slice are very, very similar. They're very controlled, very close. I think like first bite, middle bites, and crust, I think are all very similar.
So I agree there. Pizza in general, good.
The first bite of a pizza is the best bite of pizza.
I mean, I'm not going to fight you on that. I think sometimes you get a better mix of flavors closer to the middle, but I'm not going to be mad about.
No, because I don't want to be attacked on all sides of my mouth when I'm trying to like fight my way through the middle slice of the pizza.
You know how
you do the fold, you do all
how
that
you
stuff.
prevent that?
What?
Turn it.
I understand, but I'm
It's
also
not- you
listen.
Don't have to, you don't have to.
I'm a
just
man, all right. I eat my pizza head on.
You don't just
right?
have to just be like, pizza.
Knock it off. No.
Get shit all over
You're
your
being
face.
you're being a child. You're being a child. No one is turning their pizza to the side.
Yes, all the time.
No one is doing like geometric dimensional like portal revolutions on this pizza. We're just trying to eat it straight on. Everybody eats pizza straight on. No one's turning the pizza.
No, you're insane. Once you take the initial bite, and now
you're taking a slice and you are turning it to its side and eating it.
Once I have the corners from the initial bite, yeah.
No,
because I don't want to get stuff all over my face, and it's really easy to prevent. You just slightly turn the pizza. You don't have to like do geometry. You just literally move your wrist a little. That's all you have to do.
No, that's not what you said. You said to turn it to its side.
You're
Eating that thing like on the
no.
the
you
line.
Just turn the corner a little bit so that listen.
You're still gonna get a middle bite that's hitting the sides of your
No,
mouth.
you
Yes,
don't.
you're gonna get sauce in the face.
You're insane. So you've got the pizza here, right? And then you take a bite out. So now this is sort of the bite. So you just turn and eat one of these corners.
I understand. That's not what you
it
said.
doesn't
though.
seem
That's
like
not
you
what
understand.
You said. No, what you said is I turn the pizza and I eat it off the edge.
I do. I turn and I eat. This is the edge now. This is the new edge.
That's not what you said. You said you turned it. You said you were eating on the straight line. You weren't eating at the bite mark.
Eat
at the bite mark.
I am eating at the bite mark.
No, you're not. That's not what you said. You're changing the story.
I'm eating at the side of the bite mark.
No, you're not getting me wet food again. All right?
Yeah, I am.
No, you're changing your tune. You can't do that.
How else would I get to the corners of the bite mark other than turning the pizza a little bit?
Understand what you're saying now.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make it a new argument. No,
That's
you
not
said
a new
something
argument.
completely different last time. You said that you turned the pizza and that you were trying to eat it off the side, not from the bite marks.
Mustache Adam says they don't teach pizza eating 101 in UNK cafeterias, do they?
Listen, this can't be a UNK thing. All right, don't do that to me. Public university, part of the University of Nebraska system. I didn't go to Baptist University like someone else.
We aren't Baptist.
My bad.
He says, hold on. Juan, where did Juan's comment go?
Where's
he says,
Juan?
I used to eat pizza crust first to save the best. Exactly. You get rid of the worst part first, and then you end up with the good part.
Why would you?
Or you just skip the crust in general. Like I do.
See, that's your biggest sin is skipping the crust altogether. There's no reason. And you're not one to save calories.
Kobe says, Austin, throw the shovel away.
Whatever, man. Whatever. This is ridiculous. I'm tired of getting ganged up on. I'm right, and I know it. In my heart of hearts, I'm right.
That's not true.
Not eating the crust is a childish activity.
No, I don't want the crust.
That's insane. For someone who does not care about calories, clearly, from your XL, large, triple, whatever, dipper, Arby's curly fries, you should be eating your crust.
Listen, that's a flavor thing. I don't feel like I need to get fat shamed here.
That's not flavor.
Yeah, I get more curly fries. It's flavor.
That's not flavor.
It's
That's
not like I'm just like,
that's
hey.
quantity.
It's not like I just want, hey, I want all the food. I'm like, hey, this is.
More of something does not mean more flavor. That's not how that works.
Yeah, it is, because curly fries are incredibly flavorful.
Yes, but that just means you have more of the thing.
Yeah, I have more of the flavor.
No. Yes. You can't add more flavor to something like the flavor. The flavor profile is not determined by the amount that you have.
No, but if something is really good and I'm like, oh, I would like that flavor to continue, then I order a bigger size. It's not like I'm just like, I need.
That's not how that works.
I need 1,800 calories today. Let me get an extra large curly fry. I'm just like, I love curly fries. Let's mess this thing up.
Who's eating 1,800 calories a day?
A day? I mean, everybody should eat 1,800 calories.
Is the minimum 2,000? I think it's 2,000.
It's not like minimum, but it's suggested.
Everybody's a little different.
Just saying.
Yeah.
They might be juicy.
TK says you're literally the guy in the hot dog suit right now, Austin. We're all trying to figure out who did this.
I just don't understand why I'm in the wrong. I know that I'm right.
Ken says Austin is the reason UNL lost its accreditation in the AAC.
I didn't go there. That's not my school. I didn't go to that school. That's not on me.
No, Mary, it's not an Atkins diet or thing. It's just
Atkins diet.
The flavor stops being what I want at this point. It's like an entirely different food group once you get to the pizza.
Mary, a guy? No, sorry, that's an old joke. That's an old joke. Sorry, Mary.
Carol guy.
Carol guy.
No, once you get to the crust, you're like eating an entirely different food at that point.
Yeah, it's a free breadstick.
Completely changes the flavor profile.
You just haven't had good crust then.
I have had good crust. I'm here for the pizza, not for the breadstick. If I wanted breadsticks, I'd order breadsticks.
I don't like this argument anymore, man. I don't like this argument. You know what, Keegan? I'm with you. He's team crust. I can't be your spokesman. I don't want to be a spokesman anymore. I don't want to defend anything. I don't want to be supportive of anything. I don't want to share my opinion. I just want to sit here, be idle. All right. I'm going to be like a child in the 1930s.
Juan says Austin makes us Western Nebraska people look like dorks. We don't claim his bad taste.
To start, Juan's from Scottsbluff. I can't help that he grew up in a just terrible community. That's not my fault. All right. My bad.
We love Scottsbluff. Actually, I've never been to Scottsbluff.
I don't like Scottsbluff. Let me be clear.
Mustache Adam says, hit the chicken. Subject change.
Yep. Choke the chicken, please.
There we go. Oh, actually,
do you think Fred Hoiberg had some thoughts on the chicken yesterday?
I totally forget until I see like a clip out on the internet that yeah, hold on, we've got some chicken Nick.
I got another one too. Hold on, let me see if I can find it.
See if we can put a little bib on the chicken. I don't know if this will work. Should have thought about this before we started the show, but here we are.
Bang. These are golf towels from Schick and Nick show.
That putt's hard.
That putt's hard. That's awesome.
Hold on, we got this.
Wow.
This is good.
This is great podcast.
This is for the podcast.
For the podcast listeners, we are putting on a.
Oh, that's perfect. You can't really see it, but it does look like he's wearing a bib now.
Yeah, he looks like he's very fancy. I do like that. That's very nice.
He's the fancy chicken.
He is a fancy chicken. Oh, that was actually really good. Good work on that.
Bye, Rusty. Have fun.
Where's Rusty going?
I don't know. He's listening to college sports radio.
Can't listen to this concussion stand nonsense. What's a concussion stand?
I have no idea. It seems like maybe he had a concussion and had a typo there.
What is a concussion stand? Is that just where you like?
Is it like a headstand and you like fall down and get a concussion?
Is it like where they just like the college campuses where it's that opening weekend and they just have all the vendors out and it's the Oklahoma drill? You just go out there and you're just running into folks.
That would be
Speaking
more
of which, that clip I sent you and Rico yesterday.
Which
of
one?
The what state was it? Was it Kentucky where they were doing a high school football drill?
Oh yeah,
that was bad. That was real.
I can't
bad.
believe they put that on the internet.
No, I can't believe that either.
I thought they were children. Like
no,
that's a high school.
No, that was a varsity high school team.
Yeah, when I saw them move, I was like, "What's happening here?" And it's not even like the lowest like class.
No,
so
it's
like
4A,
3A, which is like
yeah.
it's a pretty good size. In Kentucky, I think they only go up to 4A in Kentucky. It's tough.
Listen, the class ratings in Nebraska have.
Do you have it? Do we have it?
I'll see if I can.
I would like to show it to the fine folks here.
Rico, I think I sent it to you. So.
Rusty might like this. We can break down some football.
Yeah, there you go, Rusty. This was a concussion drill just for you.
Nobody gets a concussion moving at that speed.
That's probably
like
true.
It's almost impossible to get concussion walking through an Oklahoma drill.
It was really bad. It was very bad. I can't wait to break down this drill. This is definitely not what's happening at Nebraska football practices, which we got a glimpse of yesterday. That was kind of nice.
TK said, "Are you talking about the Colorado practice videos?" No, we're talking about the speed of the players, not the size.
Yes. Oh, dude, the Colorado players are
little
skinny.
baby boy Colorado guys. They're so small.
They got to stop putting clips out.
It also doesn't help. Like it does not help that they wear the big over helmet things because then it looks like the helmet protector things
right.
Because it just looks like an episode of Friday Night Tykes where they're like bobbleheads almost. Yeah. They're just like you have these tiny little bodies and their heads are just like it's brutal.
It's not good. All right, I'm gonna see if I can find this clip.
Kobe, you'll appreciate the clip in a second. It's
once we get it, don't worry. Yeah, it's the ultimate tease.
It's pretty bad.
Where did I send it?
I just couldn't believe this was actual high school football. I mean, I've seen a lot of different classes here in Nebraska, some in Iowa, and I think every 6 and 8 man team in this state looks better than that. I don't think that's a stretch.
Where did I send that?
I have no idea.
It must have been in Twitter DMs. That's where I'm going.
I have no earthly idea.
We have too many chats between the three of us. It's all over.
We do have too many chats. We did get a little glimpse of Nebraska football practice yesterday.
We did. Yeah, that was nice. It's funny. Every time that we are talking to BC, we get a new look at Husker football practice. It just comes out of nowhere.
We can get BC. Well, he'll be on at 8:00. We'll talk to BC. TJ calls it the Don Beebe helmet.
Oh yeah, it was in our team's messages.
That's quite the reference there, TJ. We got Brian Christopherson here at 8:00. At 8:30, we've got Kevin Sjuts. Congratulations to CarpetLand of Lincoln on their national championship at the American Legion Baseball National Championships. We'll talk
first Nebraska title in 70 years.
I thought
it
might have been the first ever, but I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it is like the 40s or 50s.
You know, we say the first of the modern era.
Yeah, it is. Is it the first post World War II?
43, something like that. I think that's what I saw.
Yeah.
I don't know. I can double check that. But yeah.
So that's congratulations to CarpetLand and Lincoln. That's Lincoln East. It's not a coincidence I'm wearing my Miller North hat today because they were able to win the national championship, but not state. That's okay.
Mm-hmm.
Then we've got the new Nebraska football analyst, Jay Moore, will be joining us at 9:00. He was announced yesterday. He is taking DB's place on the radio team with Kyle Crooks and Jessica Cootie, who I'm sure we'll talk to at some point as well about the new season as it comes up. We love talking to Jess and Kyle, so we'll get a hold of them as well. But yeah, that is the lineup for today. Look at that. First half hour.
Bang. Not
got
bad.
the lineup in. Man.
We're like efficient.
How about the Colorado strength coach? Holy bleep.
Yeah, they got to stop posting stuff.
Yeah.
They're just not in a good space. That's where this national conversation around Deion has just turned dramatically.
It's weird.
Yeah. And like he's getting no credit anymore. And it's just mostly lambasting. Now, I think it's all his own doing, right? Because it's the cease and desist stuff. It's the I think people, maybe nationally, the Coach Prime stuff is just like worn out. People aren't as interested in it anymore. And also, I mean, notably, they're not winning. So that's a big part of it, right? That the national eye doesn't turn to you if you're not winning as many games as they did that second season.
Because they went 4 games the first season.
They did 9.
Did 9 the second, and then was it
I want to
4
say they
again
won
last
like
year?
3 or 4. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah,
it was. So the big question, and I said this at the time, I thought it was a good hire for what Colorado needed at the time, and for where it was 3 last year, and he's got 2 1-8 in conference seasons. By the way, it was
in the Big 12.
I think it was a good hire for Colorado at the time for where the program was, for what they needed, just in terms of like some positive energy and sort of to be reinvigorated. I also said at the time, I have no idea if Deion can coach football, right? Because at Jackson State, he was able to get, because he's Deion Sanders and because he has incredible relationships with a ton of really good football players that were coming up at the time, whether it's Travis Hunter, whether it's his kid, like he had really good relationships with a lot of these kids from his time back in like doing, I think, training academies in Texas, all sorts of stuff, right? And so he was just able to get better players than everybody else at that level. My biggest question was, I have no idea if this guy can actually coach football. And once Travis Hunter and Shedeur left, it seems like maybe the answer is no. And it seems like he's also sort of run out of the connections, the main connections that he had to some of the high-profile high school talent, because he's now been out of that game for 6 years.
Well, remember, he doesn't travel for recruitment.
Yeah, everybody comes to him. A lot of times he'll offer on transfer portal and stuff like that with just sight unseen. But it's been 6 years now since he's been coaching college. He started at Jackson State in the the COVID year, where I think they played, since I think they were FCS. In that year, they played part of their season in the spring, like some of those teams did. It was, it's been a long time since he's been involved with these kids that are now coming up through the college ranks. And I don't think that he's got those connections anymore. And I think it's really, really challenging for him to get enough talent into the building to overcome the fact that I just don't know if he can coach.
Well, and don't forget, too, that assistant coaching staff does him no favors either. There are high-profile names, but I don't know that there are real...
Can Warren Sapp coach?
Yeah. Like, I don't know that there are real schemers. There are real game plans.
His initial staff was.
Yes.
He brought in a really good staff.
And even that second year, like, they were bringing in guys who were head coaching candidates that were, bigger names or names to watch that would come in and be offensive or defensive coordinators. And then, obviously, they fizzled out just because of arguments or whatever the case was. But
Sean Lewis was the head coach at Kent State and became the offensive coordinator, and then I think was fired before the season was over.
Yep.
And then he went on and moved on to I think a different Power 5 or Power 4 school. I mean, a lot of these names are just not. They're not guys that have long or storied reputations as college football coaches. Like that's just not the case. And so, one of the things I was impressed with early with Deion was seemingly the self-awareness to know, hey, these are my limitations. These are the places that I need help. And theoretically, you could fill in some gaps that way, both on the football side and on the recruiting side. And I know he's got some health conditions, which is part of the reason he doesn't travel. I don't know if it's the whole reason, but it's at least a factor there. And you could fill in the gaps with some of those guys like, hey, this guy's been a former head coach. Let's get him in there. This guy's going to be a head coaching candidate in the next couple of years. Let's get him in there. Get these guys that can help run the operation, and it just doesn't seem. It seems like all those guys are gone.
Yeah,
and I'm really fascinated to see what it looks like with Colorado this year, because I don't know, man. I think this might be a wrap on the whole Deion Sanders experience.
Well, that's what you would think too, but I think we asked Schick about it last week, and he had even said, as Colorado seems okay with where they are because they still get a little bit of that national bump. They still get a little bit of shine in the spotlight, but there does come a time, right, when it's just not enough.
Yeah.
And you wonder when that curtain call is going to happen. I don't know, because sometimes the Coach Prime shine might last and linger a little bit longer than anybody else's. I mean, truthfully, what college football head coach could suffer through the back-to-back seasons that Prime has done, or I guess really the collective of seasons that he's had, and maybe not have the
I
ire
don't
turn.
even know that he's on the hot seat.
No, I don't
Like locally.
I would say locally, probably not.
Yeah.
But like nationally, I think a lot of people, and I've seen it on lists before, like you see Bleacher Report or ESPN or some of those other like major conglomerates would write in and say, oh, like one to watch, Coach Prime, Deion Sanders in Colorado. I don't think that that's the case. I think that they are comfortable with where they're at. And maybe it's partly a two-way question, right? Like one, it's the I guess the notable nature of the name and the star power of Coach Prime and what it brings to Colorado, that sort of stuff. You will always get cameras that will show up to Boulder because of that.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe the other half of it is because we've invested so much into him, we don't really have a choice to turn heel, and we don't want to admit the mistake that we might have made, because that's what it is, right? Every time that you make a firing or a major change at college football, it's admitting, hey, this didn't work out.
Yeah. CFB professor, our guy, Adam McClintock, says, Ravi, the answer is no. The question is, can his assistants coach football? And that, I guess, we have to see this version of that, which I don't, with the new guys that he's brought in. I think the offensive coordinators from Sacramento State, where I think they were pretty good in terms of their offense. I don't know that their record was particularly good.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see if that turns around. But it is fascinating, the national discourse around Deion versus what seems to be local discourse. And to your point, I haven't seen his name on it. Like, Mike Norvell's name is on those lists, and rightfully so, right?
Mm-hmm.
Back-to-back really rough seasons. Kalen DeBoer's name is on those lists.
Yep.
And I don't know if rightfully so, but understandably so, considering what Alabama is and what they want to be. There's a bunch of Luke Fickell's name is on every one of those lists.
Yep.
And again, rightfully so. Fickell, again, famously in the same class of hires that Deion and Matt Rule were.
Mm-hmm.
And I think part of I specifically remember after Nebraska lost to Colorado that first year, people asking me, well, why couldn't Nebraska have hired Deion?
Right.
Why couldn't Nebraska turn it around this quick? Now, famously, they did lose, I believe, 9 of their last 10 games in that season, or 8 of their last 9.
Last 8, yeah, something like that, yeah.
They lost to a terrible Stanford team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they were, the rest of that season, they were very bad, but they beat Nebraska's head in a little bit. I mean, it was like 36-14, more than a little bit. They beat Nebraska's head in. And like the early returns, I do think sort of skewed people, because they beat TCU and Nebraska right out of the gate.
Yep.
And then the season just sort of disintegrated at that point, but then they were really good in year 2. And so I think the optics of the situation have sort of helped him a little bit. And then last year it's like, well, they lost Shador and the Heisman Trophy winner and Travis Hunter. It was going to be a reset. People understood that. So I don't know if that's part of it in terms of the lack of scrutiny, or again, if it's a Colorado thing where it's just like, we're okay sort of being relevant in the conversation, but not really relevant on the football field.
It's also super easy to just hide in Boulder.
Yeah.
Right? Like, because you're not going to have a lot of national media that will come after you. Yes, it's part of the Denver metro area, but I mean, you're batting by the time that October or even September, when September starts and when your fall camp is rolling as it is right now, there are at least a bunch of different other conversations that are going within the media that don't have anything to do with Colorado football, right? Like, yeah. I mean, even Denver, the Broncos are going to get more of a run right now with everything in their preseason camp.
Broncos, Avalanche, basically the only team that isn't going to get more run is the Rockies.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but Broncos, Avalanche, Nuggets, all going to get more run. I don't know that Colorado's sort of strange. I don't know that that's a place that college sports matters that much.
No,
it sort of feels like the Northeast in that sense, where
that's a good example.
There's just like Boston College could be as good as possible.
That's exactly what I was thinking of, yeah.
And it just doesn't matter, right? Like, you have Matt Ryan, they got to number 2 in the country. It's like 07, right? And it's the Patriots were going undefeated that year. Just nobody cared.
Yep.
Right? Like, nobody cares about Boston College. Nobody cares about. I remember talking at a previous company I worked at. We had some salesmen from the Northeast that came in for like a training event. And so they're like, hey, what are you guys kind of into around here? And so I was talking, Nebraska football. We're big college football fans, stuff like that. And he's like, oh, yeah, we just don't do college sports up there.
Yeah.
It's
not a big deal.
Even UConn, to a certain extent, in basketball, where they are one of the best programs in the country by far. They have a very interesting head coach in terms of personality and profile and things like that. Like, really, really successful and interesting characters. And I think they're a bigger deal nationally than they are locally.
100%.
Like, I just do not think people care about college sports in the Northeast. And it seems like Colorado's pretty similar. And Derek brings up a good point. He goes, I just don't know if they can afford to even fire him, because that's a big thing with Colorado too, is they don't have any money.
Well, and then that's the other part too. If you're Colorado,
or at least they haven't in the last few years.
I mean,
Maybe
the longer you wait it
now.
out, I mean, really, what difference does it make, right, to them? Because if you're not going to prioritize like, hey, college football is like very, very important to our program, to our brand, to our university, we just ride this out, and then we'll catch a little bit of flack whenever this contract resigns, whatever. We pay him the money that we've signed him for, that sort of thing, and then we just move on after that if that's where they're comfortable in heading. Or maybe they're just waiting out Deion at this point. Because
do you think they're just waiting on him to quit?
Kind of, yeah. Because
between the health issues,
not to be like dark or anything like that, but I mean, with every new health issue, every offseason, he's had something significant come up, and I wonder if they're just like, at some point, this is going to be too much and he will prioritize his health or something else will happen and this will naturally subside rather than us having to make a decision on it. And again, like if you're Colorado and you can void all that money and you don't have to worry about paying out someone.
Yeah, if he resigns or retires, then you have to worry about it. And you probably, the longer you kind of wait it out and kind of get the money figured out from switching back conferences and things like that, like maybe that's worth it to them. I will say, just kind of looking real quickly here at their records, I believe they have not had back-to-back winning seasons since 2004, 2005.
That's a long time.
And they were 7-5 back-to-back years. I believe that's, if I'm seeing this correctly, that was the 2 last years under Gary Barnett. And I believe he got fired for it. Wow. And then you kick off the Dan Hawkins era, which was a disaster, into John Embry, which I totally forgot existed.
Cultural professor says Jonathan Smith would be a huge upgrade in Boulder.
I would agree. I think Jonathan Smith's a good coach.
Yeah.
I think they downgraded at Michigan State from Jonathan Smith to Pat Fitzgerald, but I famously am not a Pat Fitzgerald guy.
I asked this one of the first shows we ever did, and this was in the 2024 fall, going into the season that Ohio State ended up winning the national championship.
Okay.
You might remember this. So
that's Rule's second year?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Deion and Rule and Pickle, that whole cloud.
That would have been, I remember talking to you about the trickle effect if Ryan Day was fired at Ohio State.
Oh, sure.
And how the coaching tree may fall from there because Marcus Freeman could have potentially moved to Ohio State. That opens up Notre Dame, like all the other stuff too.
Kind of like when we saw... which one was it? I think it was...
Well, when Brian Kelly got fired, that kind of...
Well, he didn't get fired. He moved.
Right.
To LSU. Or you mean this year?
I mean when he was fired from LSU,
From LSU.
yes.
Oh, I thought you were talking about...
I thought there was going to be like more of that trickle effect from there, but it really didn't end up being too significant.
Yeah, there was I'm trying to think. It was in the Lincoln Riley class, but it wasn't Lincoln Riley, where somebody moved in it. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Right. But... to make this part of the Colorado conversation, Colorado's not a factor in that at all, right? Like they can't, if Deion is removed, retires, whatever, that doesn't affect any of the national conversation.
No.
I don't know of the hot seat coaches, is Florida State a player that could make like a landslide move that the whole college football paradigm shifts a little bit? I don't think so. I don't think that there's active head coaches at major college programs that would jump from where they are right now. And I'm talking like the upper tier, right? Because that's where Florida State sees itself.
That's where they want to be.
Yes. Could Florida State poach an active coach who's at a good program right now that's contending or on that next level? Like, if I don't think this wouldn't happen, but like, would Joey McGuire want to go to Florida State?
He wouldn't specifically because he's a very Texas guy, but
that's
that
the level
of program.
That's where I'm looking at.
So also, I gotta be honest, Joey McGuire would struggle at Florida State with the, I think, lack of resources. And not that they don't have any, but it's very different than Texas Tech. Florida State's a super weird job because they have really, really high expectations. They've won national championships, two.
You know better than me.
2 since 99, 3 overall. And they have like a weirdly lack of support institutionally. Like there's been a lot historically. I don't know if the current administration is a little bit better, but they've had a really, like, that's part of the reason Jimbo left for Texas A&M.
Right.
Is he was fighting tooth and nail for facilities and resources and support and things like that. And also Jimbo's really hard to work with, as we learned. But some of his complaints were very valid.
Yeah.
Right. For whatever reason, there's a disconnect between the kind of the institution of Florida State and the fan base and football team in Florida State of who they think they are. And I don't know if it is a alumni support thing. They just don't have the resources and financial support that other people do or what. Although, you would think with some of the transfer classes that Mike Norvell's brought in, pretty high profile transfer classes, that they're putting in a decent amount of money for that. Haven't really worked, but they are putting a decent amount of money in for that. But that's a super strange program because I don't think they're as I think Doak Campbell needs like a pretty big, massive makeover. I don't know if they're in the process of that or if they're trying to raise money for it. But it is not a job that, for what they consider themselves, that you look at and go, oh, they've got everything in a row. They're ready to go. It's a job where, and look at historically who they've hired. Mike Norvell comes from Memphis. Okay. Willie Taggart
Came from Oregon, but
he was only there for 1 year, and everybody was like, really? Like it was, and I don't think Oregon was sad to lose him.
Well, and Taggart came from South Florida, but it came after the Helfrich fire, right?
Yeah.
Is that right? So again, like this is a different Oregon than we're talking about. Yeah.
And then they were much happier with Mario Cristobal. But I also would have thought that outside of Miami being Cristobal having a connection there, that Miami wouldn't have been able to steal a head coach from Oregon either. But that, there's some outside factors.
So does this coaching trickle effect that we're talking about, right?
Then real quick, Jimbo was an assistant coach and had never head coached before in his life when they hired him.
Right.
And those are the only coaches since Bobby Bowden.
But he was the heir apparent, right?
Yeah,
like
he was the head coach in waiting,
right.
and they they pushed Bobby Bowden out in order to keep him there without him moving on to a different job.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Do you guys want a breakdown of that coaching trickle effect in 2021?
Oh, yes. Do you have it?
Yes.
I have like all the moves that were made. And it was Lincoln Riley leaves OU, Venables takes that job. Cristobal goes to Miami, which then opens up Oregon, Lanning goes there. Tony Elliott also left. He left Clemson to take the Virginia job. Elko left Duke to take A&M. Lanning took Oregon. Hold on. There's more. There was a lot more than I remember.
That cycle was insane. Like the 2021
Joe
cycle.
Moorhead left Oregon because Cristobal left and took the Akron job. Marcus Freeman took the Notre Dame job after Kelly left.
Yeah.
Brent Pry left Penn State for Virginia Tech.
See, the only difference with this cycle that you're talking about is it's a lot of what we call now notable head coaches and names, but it was coordinators that were moving on.
Yeah, they were
right?
one-offs at the time.
And so, yes, they were big names. Yes, it was like it was important, but I think there is something to say about I don't think it will happen this year. I think that the real rupture point would have been 2024 of head coaches moving to different programs. And so that's why I think if it were to happen this upcoming season, it has to start with Alabama. If DeBoer gets canned, that trickle effect, I think, runs deep because Alabama's not going to hire a coordinator, I don't think. I think they're going to hire an active head coach and someone that would do. And then it would be interesting to see how that plays out from there. But I just don't see the volatility like we saw from a year ago or from 2 years ago.
You know what's funny, though, about that is one of the best hires that's been made, I mean, in the last however many years, pick whatever time frame, I don't think it changes, was Kirby Smart to Georgia, a place that I think people would have looked at and said, they're probably not going to hire. They're probably going to hire a sitting head coach. But their last two hires, both of which were very successful, but varying degrees, were Mark Richt, who was the offensive coordinator at Florida State, and then Kirby Smart, who was the defensive coordinator at Alabama. They haven't. I mean, their last two coaches that have brought them to prominence were coordinators, and it's kind of funny when you think about it. Think about the class we just talked about. With all the coordinators that got hired. And who we think is successful. Dan Lanning, 0 head coaching experience. You want to go back a little further, Ryan Day, when he got the Ohio State job, 0 head coaching experience. Brent Venables, we like Oklahoma a lot now, 0 head coaching experience. Marcus Freeman, we like Notre Dame a lot now, 0 head coaching experience. A lot of these guys are first-time head coaches from coordinator roles that we consider the most successful hires in the system. And then look at the ones that we consider a little more disappointing. Lincoln Riley to USC.
Interesting.
Really prominent head coach. Now, Mario Cristobal, really successful at Oregon, really successful at Miami, right? So there's obviously
head coach, yeah.
There's obviously some of those as well. But a lot of these coaches that are very, very successful were coordinators when they got sort of the big job. Kenny Dillingham at Arizona State.
Yes, good one. Yep.
Really, really young, no head coaching experience, anything like that. Luke Fickell has really struggled. had head coaching experience, right?
That is interesting.
It's a very strange dynamic. And my point is not that you should only hire coordinators, because obviously there's guys like Cristobal who have done this as well. But I do think we make assumptions about, well, this school has to hire this type of coach. And I would agree with you. I don't know that Alabama has the stomach for a coordinator.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know that that's in the cards for them. But if you look at the history of some of these teams, that might be the best move.
And I don't know that they have
It certainly shouldn't be eliminated.
Right. I don't know if they have a number one pick right now. I'm sure that there are people in that building.
It's probably run after Sarkisian again.
Yes, it is 100% being discussed.
Yeah.
Of, okay, if
they have a list.
If we get to this point, who is it? Sark's not going to take that, though. You can call a lot of people. A lot of people are going to tell you no.
He didn't last time.
No.
I mean, so all the reporting, and this was I believe ESPN reported on it, was that the list went Sarkisian, Mike Norvell, Kalen DeBoer. Sarkisian said no. Mike Norvell says no, which I wonder how he feels about that now. And then Kalen DeBoer said yes, which I wonder how he feels about that now. Right? Kalen DeBoer was a weird fit from the start, but he was a very popular coming up.
Yeah, he just made a college football national championship game.
Yeah, like very sexy pick. He was the hot up and coming coach, even though he's been doing this for a really long time at different levels. But like, that was the list last time. If Alabama comes open again, I mean, probably Lanning.
Has that shine rusted a little bit? Because remember, it was the premier job. The only concern was that you just got to replace Saban.
I actually think it's more appealing now than it was then.
Really?
Well, yeah, because you're not replacing Saban anymore.
Yeah, but you're not at the top of the pecking order.
No, but everything there is still in place to be successful.
That's true.
It's not like it's not like people in Alabama are like, we're not paying for football anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, that has never happened.
Does Alabama still get the benefit of the doubt it did 3 years ago?
What do you mean by benefit of the doubt? Like,
in recruitment, it's always going to be a top 5 class because you can roll in and say we're Alabama, and you can offer someone and they'll just sign because of the NFL pedigree, all that other stuff.
I don't think anybody has the benefit of the doubt there anymore because of the transfer portal.
Okay.
Like, everybody's recruiting strategy is so much different now that I don't know that anybody falls in that category of just like, oh, they're always going to roll out. Like, the closest thing is probably Texas Tech in the transfer portal because you know that you're going to overpay everybody.
Mm-hmm.
So you just say, well, Texas Tech's going to have an incredible class. Lane Kiffin's going to have an incredible transfer class. Those are sort of, but in terms of high school recruiting, I think so much has changed in the nature of how everybody goes about their business that I don't like. Alabama still carries a ton of weight.
Yeah.
Like, I would put it that way. Alabama, Georgia, those schools still carry a ton of weight in high school recruiting. So I don't worry about that. I think there would be more coaches interested now in not replacing Saban, especially let's bring up Alabama's schedule real quick. Let's say Alabama goes 8-4. I don't even know if that's
fired.
100% fired.
Yeah.
But also that's a record where as another head coach, you can kind of justify the firing. Because part of this with head coaches is, and we've seen this at Nebraska, right? Is if you fire a guy that other coaches don't think should have been fired, people don't want that job.
Yes.
Right? Like,
but then
we saw it with Solich. We saw it with Pelini. Like, people don't want that job.
But that would be regression for Alabama.
100%, right?
So because they were college football playoff bound. They were 9-3 back-to-back years. You don't hit that mark again. 8-4, yeah.
So this is their schedule real quick. East Carolina, Kentucky. They do play Florida State again.
Those should be wins, though.
They should be, but they lost Florida State last year.
Some people are really high on Kentucky, which is odd to me.
I am not.
Not a Minchie guy? Not anymore.
Forget that guy. Dead to me. At Mississippi State. So it starts off, so this actually could be even worse for him because they should start off 5-0.
Yeah, you can't end bad.
And here's the stretch.
Yep.
Georgia, at Tennessee, Texas A&M, at LSU. They very easily could be 5-4 after that.
I don't
think they will be.
I don't think that they will be.
I don't think they will be.
Yeah.
But they very easily could be.
Yeah.
Right? Especially you lose I think the key game here is at Tennessee.
I agree.
They should lose to Georgia. Georgia's just better.
Yes.
I think.
Mm-hmm.
Texas A&M is probably a coin flip.
I think that they're better than A&M. I think A&M is.
I think A&M might be better coached than they are.
I think they're closer to being a sheep than a wolf.
Maybe. I like Elko a lot. I think he knows what he's doing.
I think they feasted on the easiest schedule you could possibly have last year.
I do think it's really interesting to see what Marcel Reed looks like without Colin Klein as his offensive coordinator. And then you go at LSU. That middle stretch, the middle 2 games there, I think will determine whether or not Kalen DeBoer is working at Alabama next year.
And also the way that they lose too, because if Kiffin puts it on you in Death Valley, and then he rubs it in your face later as well, and you have to deal with the public commentary and a week full of everyone talking about how bad Alabama looked, that's a long week for Kalen DeBoer.
And then you go at Vanderbilt. You have the lovely Chattanooga game in the late
toss-up coin flip, and anybody's game.
And then you finish at Auburn.
Yeah, I mean,
some people are higher on Auburn than I am. DB famously loved Byron Brown. Like, you got Golish in from South Florida. Maybe Auburn's good. I have no idea what to do with that game. But
if he's riding a teeter-totter and loses to Auburn, gone.
That's a wrap.
It doesn't matter if they're 10-2 or 9-2 going into the game and they lose, and then they're 9-3 or whatever the case is. It's a hard sell.
I don't think he would get fired with fewer than 3 losses. But if Auburn is,
I was saying he's going in 9-2, and then takes.
But if Auburn is the 3rd loss, that's a wrap.
That's a hard sell for the long offseason ahead, because then you are not in an SEC championship game. You are likely not in the college football playoff. And the last thing that people will talk about you from your last game in November until you play a game in likely early January is going to be your hot seat, where you stand, and obviously the Iron Bowl loss. It would never go away.
But let's say they lose. Let's say they go, I think 8-4 is on the table here. That's probably on the lower end of what I would expect, but it's on the table. Let's say they go 8-4. And that includes a loss to their rival at Auburn. Coaches around the country will understand why Kalen DeBoer got fired.
Yep.
That's not a situation where you go, I don't know about that, man. That's a weird, I don't know that I want to walk into that bear trap. You don't have the stink of following Saban anymore. And by stink, I mean stink for you, not for the program.
Yes.
You don't have shadow is a better word. You don't have the shadow of following. That thing stank.
That Seven stank.
You don't have the shadow of following Saban anymore, and you have a justifiable firing. I think the coaching, I think they would have.
It's easier to bring in a coach to convince them to come in.
Yeah, I think they would have a lot of opportunities to hire not any coach they want, but pretty close. Like, they would have basically their pick of the litter in terms of who they wanted as the head football coach.
And it would be super interesting to see who I think Sark would, depending on what Texas does this year, maybe Sark accepts like a floating device if it's not peachy. But then that's the other part of it too, is that if it's not a great season in Texas, you can't hire Sark, right? Like, Sark can't go 8-4. You fire DeBoer for getting 8-4, and then you hire Sark. Like, that's just, that transgression doesn't make any sense. So, your fan base would not be receptive to that sort of transition.
Let's say Texas goes, last 3 years they've been 12-2, 13-3, 10-3. Let's say they go, and they missed out on the conference or on the college football playoff last year. Let's say they go 9-3 again. They've been to the college football playoff. They've had double-digit wins 3 of the last 4 years. Well, I guess including the bowl game last year.
Right.
Is that a guy that you can hire since he does have history at Alabama? I think that
I don't know where they put that value. That he was an Alabama guy at some point.
I think there's a reason he was first on the list, and I think that's part of it.
Yeah, but that was a different time.
It was, but it was under Saban, which, people famously love going back to, hey, remember when we were good? Let's get one of those guys.
I'm still saying it's even off of a different time when Sark's value couldn't have been higher. I don't know where Sark's shine is right now. Now, inevitably, here's the thing about this whole conversation. Inevitably, there will be a coach that rises up in this conversation, right? Like, who's the Florida coach? Summerall?
Yeah.
If for whatever reason Florida, comes out of the gate 9-0, then Alabama is just like frothing at the mouth, being like, we could take Summerall.
You know who we're forgetting?
Matt Rule.
Nope. Another guy with Alabama ties. Is there a chance that they're just like, hey, Curt Cignetti, come on down?
Oh, yeah.
I get he's older, but that's an Alabama move.
And they would pay it too.
They would pay, and like
they would pay out. They would have to pay out one contract to DeBoer. They would have to pay out the Indiana contract and extension, and then pay him the Indiana contract extension plus. But yes,
that's an Alabama move.
That's their first. That's
probably their first call.
That's your first call because you get told no fast, right?
I don't know,
and then you move on.
I don't know if you get told no fast.
If Dabo turns it around this season with Clemson, is he still on the Alabama?
No. I think that ship has completely sailed.
I think Dabo's next job, if it's not continues to be at Clemson, is a step down job.
Yeah, I think he's riding out to get his statue built at Clemson, and then he's good.
Either a high profile group of 4 job, or group of 5 job, or a lower profile power conference job.
Or if the biggest mega church decides to offer him, then he can make his contract that way too.
It's true.
No transfer portal in the church.
It's not true. People change churches all the time.
Hey, by the way,
Yes.
before we go to break or whatever,
Or whatever.
can we get to this video that you guys teased? Because Kobe and I have been waiting for this.
Oh, Kobe has been.
Oh yeah.
We always appease Kobe. We try to make sure that the show is revolved around him. He is our one shining star.
I'm just saying real quick before we get to this thing, I do think like from a Cignetti standpoint, I don't think it's an immediate no because like think about the way he's wired. He is a very I will prove everyone wrong at all times type of guy. He just won a national championship at Indiana. Until last year, the losingest football program in FBS. What's the next thing he could do to rub it in everyone's face? Oh, you thought only Saban could win at Alabama? Watch this. I was the Magic at Alabama. You don't think that's a Cignetti thing to do?
If Alabama's smart and they pitch it that way, yeah. If they walk in and they're like, we don't think you can do it.
We don't even really want to offer you this job, but our fans will kill us if we don't.
Yeah.
No, I think you go in and you go, I think you almost play to his ego. Just be like, hey, we know you were the secret sauce that started off the Saban era. Come on home. Let's bring us back.
And you could tell him to achieve college football immortality more than you already have.
He also
close out your career at Alabama.
He also he has been on a war path to prove something since leaving Alabama.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah.
And he's just been like, hey, I'll go D2. I'll go
gets
FCS.
statues at two different places.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think Cignetti's a no.
That's a you're starting to convince me because that's a tough. If you're wired the way that Cignetti is, and someone comes up to you and you're like, imagine where you stand among college football greats in history, and you win a national title at Alabama. It doesn't matter what you do, anything after that. You can ride off into the sunset and retire. You'll have all the money in the bank you possibly need. You will be taken care of from every single contract you've ever gotten over the past 5 years. But you will be remembered as arguably the greatest coach with the fewest national titles in that conversation.
Yeah, I don't even know what his if he goes down and wins, I don't know, how old's Cignetti? 63, something like that?
Yeah.
If he goes down and wins a couple national titles at Alabama, which, let's be honest, not out of the question.
No.
You win it out, he's 65. If you win a national title.
So after this year, he'd be 66. Let's say, he coaches for 5 more years till 71, right? Yeah. And if he wins 2 national championships in Alabama, that's you make the argument. And let's be honest, easier to win national champions at Alabama than it probably is at Indiana. Easier to continue and sustain success at even with the amazing job that he's done. Alabama probably easier to sustain success at still than Indiana. I don't think that's a hot take. That would be very interesting.
If he goes, let's say he's got.
Is he too Big Ten pilled right now, though?
Let's say he's got. No, he's always Cignetti pilled. That's the only thing that I don't think that man cares about Big Ten, SEC, anything else. He cares about hey, I'm better at this than everyone. Let me show you.
That's right.
And if he let's say he's got. So he'll be 66 after this year. Let's say he's got. This doesn't seem like a guy that's going to retire early. Does this guy like anything other than coaching football?
No.
So let's say he coaches 7 more years till he's 73. He seems young and pretty, he seems pretty vibrant still. Let's say he coaches until he's 73. You're telling me he can't win 2 national titles? If you win a title at Indiana.
I don't want to think about this.
And then 2 more at Bama.
Yeah.
You're having a conversation for this is the greatest run of coaching we have ever seen in college football history.
Can't disagree. It's a great argument.
I get there's the stretch from the guy that he would take over at Alabama, but this or that he worked with under Alabama. But there's an argument to be made that going from Indiana national title and then restoring the thing that you helped build at Alabama would be the greatest coaching run over a decade in college football history.
All right, Shane, let's play your video.
Oh, we get to play it?
Yes, we get to play it.
Let me stop the music.
Okay, so this isn't the first video we had seen. Oh, that's still pretty bad.
This is a 3A high school football team in Kentucky.
Let's play this again. Hold on. So rounding the corner, coming through.
Not incredibly agile.
Yes. And not as bad as the first one.
The first one was
really
way
bad.
worse.
Yeah, it was rounding the corner on the cone. It was not perfect. So I'm glad we still got a a reference of this, but this does look just like two linemen that I don't know why either of these guys are running the ball, to be fair.
I think the one guy's a tight end, which is not great.
I also do like, hey, you know what? Defensive player got low leverage, try to wrap up and then toss him over the shoulder. It's not terrible. It's not bad. The first one was just very poor.
Yeah,
but
the first one got deleted.
Yeah, rightfully so. That one should have been deleted. So, wow.
All right, let's get to
Thank
Brian.
you, Kobe. Glad we got to that.
Let's get to Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. Coming up next. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
He doesn't look like a freshman to me. I mean, he was nervous in the spring because he just got here. He was anxious. He was nervous. He settled in over the summer and just does not look like a freshman to me. I mean, he's 6'2", 210. He runs fast, has breakaway speed, has good ball skills, doing a solid job in protection. So, encouraged with where he's at. I mean, he's going to play, so we'll all see it here in a few weeks.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
I definitely would say it's a direct correlation to what you do in the weight room. All those, the lifts you do. There also, your grip has to be strong, but there's things you can do in the weight room to work on your grip strength as well. And then the placement is really huge because you got to be able to grab cloth, and it's a fight day in, play out. For the offensive line to being taught the same thing, to get their hands inside and be tight with it. But all those coaching points as far as having elbows no tight with your thumbs up and trying to make sure you land and locate them, it's a race every day between you and a good offensive line to do that. And that's what's helped us as well. Like in the spring I talked about it, but we battle against a good offensive line. So, if you miss with them, you're going to be in a disadvantageous situation. So you got to rebite them and go from there.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Mayo Medical. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. We are joined now by Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. BC, what's going on, buddy? How are we?
I'm doing well. How are you guys?
Doing good, BC. Doing good. Can't complain. How was getting that first look at Nebraska football's maybe more defensive practice? It was kind of hard to say what the different tenor was of this practice and media availability than what we saw last week. Did you get a different view of it?
A little bit, Austin. I liked it was a really good drill, where you got a little one-on-one action between O-line and D-line, the running back having to read that block, sort of decide if he's going inside or outside of it. And then Tyler Yelk sitting with his safeties about, 15 yards back, their role to obviously time it right and fit it well, something Nebraska did not do a season ago. It was the perfect drill, I thought, for a media guy to watch, because you got 3 phases of it. You got to hear EJ Barthel coaching his guys about if he liked how they put their foot in the ground and how they cut and sort of worked off of it. You obviously saw the who was standing a guy up on his block and who wasn't, and then the safety help. So that part was really interesting to me. I kind of ventured over by the wide receivers as well. And this is not a surprise name at this point. It's been one of the names of the first week and a half of fall camp. But Quinn Clark, just like even in indie drills, feels like a guy who's just walking taller to me. And he was already 6'5", so that's tall. But I just think he's blending into that top 3 pretty well. Now we'll see how the reps shake out when you get to the games. But you can sometimes you see it in a guy, like even in a practice setting like that, where he just looks different. He's a little quicker with everything, and he knows he can do it now. He's not wondering. And so those were some things that stood out to me. And I mean, the same thought I had a week ago. This doesn't mean they're going to tear it up or win more games in the fall. We'll see how it translates. I understand why Matt Rule, before we went out there the first time a week ago, said you're going to see a good looking football team. And you've heard a lot about Corey Campbell and Kristen Coggan in like every interview from everybody. And that part's fair. It is a team that looks good off the bus and looks better in definitely in certain areas than it has, I think, in past years. So we'll see where that carries it. Like, I know people sometimes roll their eyes. They say, I hear bigger, faster, stronger every offseason. And I agree with that. And sometimes it's true. Sometimes it's a shoulder shrug. The difference maybe with this team, when you have that discussion, and I've maybe said it on here before, but now I think we're talking a lot more about like 20 to 22-year-olds, as opposed to like a year or two ago when you're talking about bigger, faster, stronger. Maybe it was like a 19-year-old, who looked better than his true freshman year. And so there's a difference there with the maturity of looking bigger and stronger, and how that combines together. That helps them.
BC, I want to move over to what I think is maybe the most up for grabs starting spots on the entire team. First of all, do you want to guess what position group I think that is?
Up for grabs. I don't know where you're going to go. D-line? You going D-line?
I'm going safeties.
Okay. Go.
Stop me when you think I get to a guy that you'd be stunned if they started. Okay. Jameer Khan, Dwayne McDougal, Caleb Benning.
I mean, Caleb, I would say Caleb, yes, to start the season because he was on the bike the other day. But I also, you might have better intel than I do when he comes back fresh. So
why that, BC?
No, I get the
I'm
point.
just gonna say I'm not concerned about the bike. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Okay.
But you think Caleb, you like Caleb in that contest? I mean, that's good info, Ravi. I mean, that's like because everybody's talking about McDougal, Khan, and then I think Guthrie probably is the name that people throw out there because he played 600 snaps last year.
Let's say, assuming health, would you be stunned if Caleb won a job?
I wouldn't be. Yeah, I would be. Like September 5th, I would be. Yeah, that would be a heck of an accomplishment. And I think it would surprise a lot of people. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, BC, I guess just on that same note, I'm curious your thoughts, just not on maybe the defensive backfield size, but I asked Tim Verghese last week of the long-term projects that maybe the coaching staff's excited about, guys that he thought maybe were guys that are maybe trending in maybe not just this season, but kind of building towards future years. Are there guys on this roster for this year's team that you could see maybe not having the biggest impact in September, but when we get to November, maybe we're talking about them a little bit more?
Yeah, and Ravi might. First off, he could have nailed it there with Caleb, but Caleb is the type of player I think about, or I would have said with that, like a guy who I think is going to factor in. I'm just not sure yet who's that first guy up, September 5th against Ohio that question. So, yesterday I think you heard a name. I don't know if he's ready to be in the top 8 or not, but keep an eye on Gibson Pyle because
he's come up a couple times.
Yeah, well, Geep brought him up yesterday, but as more than just like, oh, he's a young guy that looks all right. Like the reason he interests me is a year ago at Big Ten Media Days, I can't remember the lineman that was there, but whoever it was like, Gibson Pyle is coming. Like he's going to be pretty good. And then Gibson Pyle had the injury, was out a year, missed the spring. And for him to come right back and now a new set of eyes on him is like, yeah, Gibson Pyle's been one of the guys who's impressed early in camp. Now that doesn't mean he's like even in the top 6 or 7 on this line, because you got to factor in there's the good Tula tree battle. There's Tyler Kanak, so he could be 8, 9, but he'd be a guy that I would keep an eye on. I think Tyson Terry is climbing the ladder steadily, or at least in position. He's at that foot of the ladder, ready to walk up the steps. So I just keep an eye on him. He'd be someone. Linebacker, Merritt and Mooberry are both just guys to keep in mind. Mooberry came up from even guys on the other side of the ball. When he's healthy, he's impressed. And so with some of these guys, it's just like, can they have full availability, and that full runway? Because if they do, they could be a factor. So those are some names that pop into my head. That's off the cuff, of course. So I'm leaving off someone, but that's what comes to mind.
I think we fast forward a little bit with this guy, and we talked about him earlier, but doesn't Quinn Clark fall in that category too, of a guy like he's now further along in the project, but like that's a guy that, I mean, in terms of recruiting services, offers, all things like that, did not think much of him when he got on campus at Nebraska.
Yeah, he would definitely be a case where when they took him, some would call it a flyer or whatever. It's like, legacy guy who's running a 4.7. How's that going to work out? Good on them for
like a courtesy offer, right? Like, I mean, it wasn't.
That's what people thought about it. Yeah, that's if you want to just be candid, I think people kind of read it that way. And I don't think they hand those out, by the way, but I think that's sometimes the perception on things. And, they thought, and credit to former staffer Evan Cooper, he was in on that one too. 4.7 guy who he thought he's going to get faster. He's going to get bigger. Let's get him here and work on him. And the thing about Quinn was they worked him out at a bunch of different positions that day. Even some defensive stuff. They had him run through drills. And I think he just, like the way he picked stuff up, impressed. And he definitely falls in the category of that. But like I say, I've now, maybe it's because I've moved my mind on, like, he's like in the top 4 to me. Like, if you want to talk about a receiver, like if he could be the kind of the Austin's question, I still think about like Cortez Mills. Like, can he pop in and make enough plays in a crowded room where maybe the reps aren't easy to get? That's going to be interesting.
I think of a guy like, if we want to stay in that room, and I think for a while we sort of put these guys together, but Quinn Clark obviously separated himself. I do think there's still that potential for a guy like Keelan Smith, if he can put together, like if he can like stat good days from a talent standpoint. We saw a little bit of this. Oh, I don't remember if it was the spring game or one of the open practices or whatever, but like there's an immense amount of talent in Keelan Smith.
Yeah, there is. And he'd be right now in that group, I think, of 6, you would say. And then when I was over by the wide receivers, I don't know that he's not in the group of 6 yet. But like Nayland Scott, I was watching, and like just like he was involved with special teams, and it's areas like that where you want to see some guys who maybe they're not on the 2 deep, but they're ready to make an impact, and maybe they're a part of Maher's unit. Jamari Brown actually looked pretty quick to me as sort of a new pickup, but yeah, you're right on Keelan Smith. And Dana mentioned him the other day, like he's working with the 2s now, so I think you kind of know, at least at this moment, that's sort of your top 6. There's definitely separation between, I think, the top 4, but like, what does that 5th and 6th guy do, and can they be make that move that sort of stabilizes, like, okay, the receiver room finally has all these guys that we've sort of talked about for off seasons past, but it never quite surfaces. So they have that opportunity, which they should be excited about.
Brian, can I switch to the defensive line for a second? Unless you want to stick with receivers and offensive playmakers, all that good stuff.
No, go ahead.
All right. So just in yesterday's press conferences, I felt like it wasn't anything that jumped out on the page when it came to what we heard commentary-wise. But I thought one thing was interesting when Corey Brown went up to talk about defensive line. And first, so obviously last season, only 22 sacks in total. That was, I think, close to 100th in the country. Is like somewhere in the top 90s. When you are evaluating a defensive line's pass rush, is there a percentage or a certain number of sacks that you, in a perfect world, in a perfect season, that you would, maybe percentage-wise, that you would like to see the total team sacks be coming specifically from the defensive line?
I'd have to look quick on the numbers.
I have it for you for last season if you'd like.
So Nebraska had how many last year? And I'm looking to
last year Nebraska had 22 total team sacks, and 12 and a half of them came from the defensive line. So it's about 56%.
Okay. Yeah, I'd love to see that percentage. I don't know what the number you give on that. I'd have to look more at the numbers. But as a whole, first off, because that's where my brain went first, it's like I want to see that thing get into the 30s. You know, like. If you look at the sack totals from last season in top ranked teams in sacks, you needed to have at least 31 sacks to be top 35 last year. And if you wanted to be top 25, you needed 34 sacks. And so I don't think it's always about that number. This is going to be an old reference that a lot of people won't remember, but there's a former coach, Phil Almazian, who was on a staff here, a secondary coach, and he said at a Big Red Breakfast, sacks are overrated one time. And it became like the discussion point for like, the week around here. And I understood his point though, because it's not always just about that number. It's about pressure. It's about just like, when a defensive front beyond the numbers is just a havoc-wreaking group that is in a quarterback's head, and they set the tone early in games and then they finish games. And so more than the numbers, that's like what I want to see. Like I want to see it where you feel like in the second quarter of games, more than several times this year, they've got a QB a little rattled. They've got him thinking like someone's coming quicker than he maybe is. If you want the one example from last year when they did that, and it wasn't just, I feel like that was the game, like the best game for maybe Javen Wright and some guys that weren't D-line, but Michigan State, Michigan State scored 27 points, but you guys remember like Aiden Childs threw like 2 terrible picks, just gift wrapped. And part of it's because they hit the first series of the game. Like I think it was Javen who's jumping over someone. The D-line was getting active, and you're like, okay, this feels good. I remember that being the one game last year where after it, I was like, I'll take that. Let's see. This is trending a little bit where I want it to. Let's see where that goes. And it didn't quite happen that way again. But that's the type of the game. If I were to think about one from last year that's obtainable, it's like, let's get that, that sort of just heat on a guy where it causes him to make those mistakes that shouldn't be made.
Yeah, there were basically 2 games over the last 2 years. One is that Michigan State game. The other one is the Colorado game at home.
Right.
Where Stewart just felt like he was running for his life the entire game, right? And so to your point, and I don't, off the top of my head, I don't know what the sack numbers were on either of those games, but to Phil Almazian's point, sometimes it's about the pressure, like
right.
QB pressure is not the sacks, right? Staying on the defensive line for a second here. I kind of want to, I like looking at personnel stuff. Just I'm fascinated by it because I do think some of these things are way more wide open at this point in the process than we think, especially on the defensive side of the ball where you've got new D-line coaches looking at with new eyes at the group. You've got new defensive coordinator, obviously looking with new eyes at the group. A guy that I liked last year there's a part of me that still thinks he might have a shot just because he brings a skill set that is pretty unique from the edge. I wouldn't be stunned that if at some point this year we're talking about Jordan Ochoa.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a fair name to bring up. And I don't think Matt Rule just says anything just because it skipped into his mind at that moment. It's thought out a little bit. And like a week before, or a week ago, he brought up Ochoa, like just quickly. But whenever he says a guy like that, I'm like, oh, okay, interesting. And I do think of last year, like with Ochoa, there was that camp, there was a practice that was open to the media, and he was sort of a guy that became sort of the flavor of the week. And people remembered he got in the Pinstripe Bowl and sort of was active in his few snaps there. And so, I don't forget about that because he's still a relatively young player. And this would be the time where he sort of starts to make that move. And with what you're saying, Ravi, I would say, like, I've thought about that, like, end or edge spot, and you kind of know the main names we always talk about, but there is like room for like him or a McGahee or whomever it may be to like sort of like, okay, we're deep here. It's sort of like how we were talking about the wide receivers with like a Mills and a Keelan Smith. Like they have that chance to do that in that room. It's someone like Ochoa who can do that in the defensive end room. And so he's got the tools. Like he was a guy that I thought was sort of a steal the way he came to Nebraska in the recruiting process, and not a name to skip over. I think you're smart in that one, at least to throw it out there, and let's see where it goes.
I will say that I think, not to make this a compliment fest here, Willis McGahee, he's a good name to bring up as well, I think. That's a guy that I'm really interested in the fact that he stayed here. You remember at the end of last year, I think everybody just assumed he was leaving because he didn't have the second year that people assumed that he was going to. And the fact that he chose to stay, I think is really interesting in terms of his temperament. And I'll be honest, what I'm looking for a lot on a defensive line is temperament, right? There's certain guys that, like, yeah, a lot of these guys physically at least meet minimum qualification benchmarks, right, in terms of athleticism. Although that's part of the reason I bring up Ochoa is I think he's unusually twitchy for that room. But McGahee's a guy where I go, hey, like this guy has made some choices to be here that I'm really interested to see how that plays out.
Made choices to be here. And if you go back to 24, played 100+ snaps, and we all knew Princewell, who obviously left and has transferred around and is a great talent, had that. But that year, as young players, Willis was actually at times getting more reps than him because I think was a little bit more on right where they needed him at that moment. You know what I mean? It wasn't about what you're going to be in a year or two. It was about the moment. And I remember him being very active whenever he got in the game. And so that's, again, like there's certain things you just don't have escape your mind. It's that's there. And you're like, okay, that if that potential was there as a first-year freshman and the guy fits well with coaches like Roy Manning and Corey Brown talking about the interior guys yesterday. I would say guys that I don't know that I've ever heard an assistant coach at the podium more technical, like as he just talked about like what they're doing to every answer, and just he got inside baseball and stuff, about the technique. And so I think that's the type of guys Orich brought with him here with Manning and Corey Brown. And if certain guys take to it a little bit better than others, or it just like kind of the light bulb goes on with what they're being taught, you are going to see someone interior and probably on the edge who maybe takes a step further than people are guessing right now in August.
BC, just because of the way last year kind of progressed, I just went back and I looked at that the Cincinnati season opener and then compared it to some of those other games. Like we mentioned the Michigan State game, obviously Akron and Houston Christian. The defensive line, for lack of a better phrasing, kind of felt a little bit like fool's gold as we look back at some of the stats, because it feels like some of their major statistics and sacks or tackles for loss came from the non-conference opponents, as well as the Michigan State game where they, as you noted, had a pretty good day against an offensive line that struggled against them. The rest of the games, it didn't feel like they had that much of an impact. Of course, Michigan game's one that's significant. I think the Minnesota game, and then, of course, that backstretch. In this season, what could the defensive line show you in the first three and maybe even that fourth game against Michigan State? What can they show you outside of maybe just the statistics that would give you confidence that the position group is improving and has improved from where they were a year ago?
I mean, beyond the statistics, I think what you're talking about there is sort of what Corey Brown was being asked about and what Rob Orich, people wanted to know is like how many guys is enough guys basically on the interior, for example. and Orich said he wants 6 guys there. And that to me, like you're right. Like there can be fool's gold in some September games. A guy can do something in week 2 that maybe he can't do against the type of team you play in week 8. But at the very least, you want to be able to see like 5 or 6 guys on the interior, for example, that can do it in week 2, right? That look like they're just flat out better. There's a definite gap between them and the competition they're going against, and where you don't feel like there's a drop off, and that's hard to do. It's hard to do even on good D lines, because Brunson and I always joke. The year Nebraska went out to Columbus and played Ohio State a couple seasons ago and could have won the game, Nebraska's D line mostly dominated. They had a great day. It was Ty and Nash and Jamari and MJ Sherman all had good days at the same time. There's a possession, if you go back and watch it, where Nebraska subbed out, and they had, I don't remember who the guys were in that were after them, but Brunson and I are like, get those other guys in. Like, you're watching 2 or 3 plays and you can just like see like the difference. So point being, even on like a really good a defensive line that seems pretty stout and is holding up well in the Big Ten, it's hard to always get like that 4 through 6 guy where it's close to the same level. But in the first few games, I'd love to see it where you think that's maybe the case, where you can't tell a huge difference. And that would kind of, I think, fire you up about at least the possibilities going into conference play.
So BC, I just want to pick at that a little bit further and just unwrap it a little bit more. I'm curious if what you gave as an example there, obviously like building the depth and making sure that you have quality players behind you is important, but is it more important to take your high talent, your starters, and make them exceptional defensive linemen and make them all Big Ten level? Or is it about raising the floor where everybody is basically at the same level and rotational at that position to have the most success?
No, that's a good question. And I don't know for sure what the right answer is. What would be more effective to a football team? I think some would say, and it might be the right answer, is that it's if you have like 2 guys who are just, top level dudes who can play most weeks 55 to 60 snaps. But I think for where this program is going, and I mean, at each position group, I think there's going to be a lot of personnel that plays. I think that this segment got started the right way when Ravi posed the question about safety, and if there's a battle there, and that's the way I think it's going to be in this Rob Orich defense. And so I want to see the floor get raised right now with where this group is. I'm not under the false illusion or the thought right now that like the top guy on the interior of the D line is necessarily going to be first team all Big Ten for Nebraska this year or anything like that. That would be a welcome surprise if it is, but I'm not expecting it. And so with what we kind of think or know about this group a few weeks from the season, what I want to see as much as anything is the floor come up where it's like, okay, the 5th and 6th guys are they're in the hunt here. Like, especially when you think of one of those guys, like who might be 4 through 6 and climbing is like a Tyson Terry. And, he's going to be in this program, for 4 more years. That's why I would probably answer that way for this particular team, but I don't know that that's the right answer for every team, if that makes sense.
Yeah. That's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7 BC. Great stuff as always. Thanks for letting us ask you some kind of off the wall abstract.
I like it. I like how you started it. That's a good that'll get people thinking out there a little bit about one of the positions.
I just think I think the roster's in a really interesting place in terms of the talent and especially on the defensive side. Like there is probably, 18 guys that could start, and I wouldn't blink twice at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're gonna play a lot of guys. You think back to Tony White's first year, up at Minnesota, like that first game, defense played really well till that last drive. But the first quarter, I remember looking down and charting it. They had like 20 plus guys who were already in the game. I don't know. I think we're going to see some similarities to that this year with how they move guys around, and safety is definitely one of those spots. But it's good to it's also good to remind yourself, like, some people think they know what's going to happen at certain spots. You don't know for sure. Like, there's always like a surprise or something people weren't talking about August 1st. We're talking about right tackle differently than we talked about it 2 weeks ago. You know, like there's certainly spots on defense where I think the conversation is going to shift over the next week as camp finishes.
That's where I'm just so interested to see how the season plays out, because I'm of the belief that I think Nebraska's, if we keep it defensively, I think the starting 11, you would rank them wherever you want to put them in the Big Ten. But I think if you go deeper and you say they're 20, they're 25, they're 30, I think that is one of maybe their strengths, is how many guys that they feel confident in playing, but maybe not in specifically starting roles like you mentioned for week 1 or week 2. And I think it is a big benefit to them that they don't have a Cincinnati in that week 1 matchup, that they can kind of roll into the season and find out who's comfortable under the lights and in those primetime positions.
Absolutely. And you asked a great question really about the D line, like the floor elevating or what's more important. And that's why I would say the floor with this particular group. I just think like there's so many bodies that are in the hunt. There's guys who are, we talk about being a mature football team, but there's second, third year guys who you'd love to see, like, okay, their floor is way higher than I thought it was. And maybe their ceiling is up there a bit too. They kind of at least give you that hope. And so I think that's what you're hoping at all 3 levels, but it's going to be an interesting last week of camp. And this conversation, I think, is proof to that. There's still a lot of things unsettled, but it's not necessarily a bad unsettled in some ways.
That's Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. BC, appreciate the time as always. We'll talk to you next week.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Brian.
That is Brian Christopherson, Husker 24/7. We'll be right back with Kevin Sjuts from 1011 News in Lincoln. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
Yeah, Danny lines up and expects to make a play on the ball if the ball's coming at him. Like he hasn't played any college football yet, so he needs reps. He's taking those reps. He likes football. He's smart, but he's competitive. And anytime you play a freshman in that position, you have to be willing to help them through some things. But mentally, he's a lion. He attacks, and the ball's in the air. He tries to go get it, and he's got great length, great hands.
Your schedule is filling up. Get back to busy at Edwards Kia. Lease the 2027 Kia Seltos S starting at just $269 a month. Ready for every run on the calendar. 2 great leases, 1 less thing to worry about. We've also got the 2026 Kia Sportage EX starting at $249 a month. Don't wait. Get back to busy this August at Edwards Kia.
What have been the sentiments that you've heard from fans once they come to Omaha Supernovas match, see the talent, see the atmosphere, the environment, everything?
And I can't tell you how many people, when I am back in Nebraska and I travel around or I'm in the airport, come up and tell me they've got Supernova. They're so proud to tell me they've got Supernova season tickets. The other thing I see is some of the events we go to, how many moms and daughters there are. Now, I remember growing up, my dad would take me to San Diego Charger football game in the old Balboa Stadium. And I thought that was really cool. And then when the Padres showed up, he would take me there. Now you've got the moms taking the daughters to go see pro volleyball. And to me, that has been one of the things that I want to get involved with it, because that is telling everybody this thing is going to grow. And you've got all these young girls dreaming of being Supernovas, and I see how they mob our players afterward, and they're wearing the Supernova gear. So it's pretty cool to see what's happening in professional volleyball.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. We are joined now by Kevin Sjuts from 1011 News in Lincoln. Kevin, what's going on, buddy? How are we?
Good morning. Want to let you know in these parts, it's not Go Big Red today. It's Go Big Rugs.
Let's go.
Congratulations to CarpetLand. What a ride that they went on in North Carolina and throughout the entire postseason. I'm just over the moon happy for Coach Lonick, those families, the boys. And man, this is something we're celebrating not only here in Lincoln, but across Nebraska.
All right, Kevin, you've kind of been on the beat of this. I think a lot of people have been tuning in for you because not only your passion for that CarpetLand team, the way that the team has been talked about. You were talking to those kids late last night. I mean, how late is that Zoom call that you had them on? I saw you post a couple of clips of that interview.
Dude, the Zoom call happened in between 10 p.m. and about 10:20, which is when the sportscast, I had to be out on set during the commercial break. So we were chatting. We actually had a couple of technical difficulties trying to get the Zoom thing going. But once we got those, kind of the kinks worked out, the boys they didn't care. Like, they were more than patient with me and the technology. But yeah, the Zoom was between 10 and 10:20. And then seriously, like 2 or 3 minutes after we got off the Zoom, I was in our studio ready to talk about their championship and show the highlights.
It was an awesome, awesome job. Just appreciate, again, you just being able to get that story out there. But can you explain to people that are listening or someone who will listen later on podcasts and that sort of sense, just the difference in Legion baseball comparative to what the high schools will play in the spring? Because it's almost a completely different season, especially as fall camp for football is right around the corner or already well underway. And some of these guys, they have a lot of different priorities going on at this time.
Yeah, well, not only at this time, Austin, but over the totality of the summer. So every organization, every town, every high school, they run Legion a little bit differently. The way CarpetLand and Lincoln East does it, one, it's the Lincoln East team. And some other Legion teams, they're kind of like a hodgepodge of a few kids from that school, a few kids from this school, especially as you get in the lower classes. So it's like the Lincoln East team. And also, like, they play an aggressive schedule. So while some of these high school players, they might prioritize going to play in a PBR event or a perfect game event. And some of these CarpetLand kids do, but they all have their opportunities kind of limited because you don't want to jeopardize your eligibility to play in the American Legion postseason. And I think that's where Lincoln East draws the line. And it's where they kind of separate themselves from other, Class A similar type schools nationally. There are some recruits that, they'll play a little bit of Legion. Some won't play at all, but they'll only play a little bit because they want to prioritize their recruiting and they'll try to go in more perfect game events. And it means they can't play Legion baseball. But Lincoln East just found this line where it looks like the high school team. They're able to still get a lot out of them despite it being the summer. And by the way, it's the summer. They're high school kids. Families want to travel and have vacations. And some of these kids may have jobs because it is the summer. But yet they're able to still really pour into baseball. And I guess, guys, one of the things I would say about this team that makes this super, super special is the fact that, Lincoln East baseball and CarpetLand, it's very demanding. And these are baseball interested boys and baseball interested families. So there's a high investment. So for the return for the investment from all of these kids and their families to be a World Series championship, that's really cool stuff. And it's done by 17, 18, and 19-year-olds that are not just being celebrated in the Lincoln East hallways today, it's being celebrated across the state.
Well, and Kevin, this is a team that has had a few cracks at this, right, in terms of the American Legion World Series and going on to this national level of the tournament. I believe 3 of the last 4 years, I think they were in this. But this is, if I'm correct, I think I got this right, the first national championship from a Nebraska team since pre-World War II. Like, this is a enormous deal. And I remember growing up, it was just a big deal to get to the American Legion World Series. They've obviously done that a few times now, but to win this thing, I mean, we're talking legitimately over 80 years.
Yeah, 1939 was the only other time a Nebraska-based Legion baseball team won the World Series. Lincoln East has been in the World Series 3 of the last 4 years, reached the final 4 years ago. And if you look at that team, like that was the team that you thought, if they're not going to win it, will they ever win it? Will any Nebraska team ever win it? And what's really interesting is, and I saw a post made by Jeter Worthley's father, and I think that this is very important to get context of what CarpetLand just did. A lot of the players that were on the field last night and leading this team to a national championship, a couple of years ago, they were not playing varsity baseball. They were backups because it was Jeter's class, and there was A.J. Avasco, and there was Garrett Springer and Carter Mick. These are kids playing JV baseball, and they waited their turn. They didn't jump ship and go somewhere else. They stuck to the process. They continued to work. And if you talk to Coach Lonick, I think that's one of the things that makes this so rewarding for him. He's happy for these boys that they got to experience that. But I think he's more like he's happier the fact that the payoff, this is the payoff for just sticking to his vision and sticking to, what this program believes in. And that's just working hard, being a good teammate, and being pretty selfless. It's really good stuff. I would say, Austin, too, on a personal note, like I've followed the journey of a lot of these players personally for a number of years. My son has played against some of these players. He played with Jackson Makovica last fall. And here Makovica last night bangs a 3-run home run in the World Series, his first home run of the summer. So
good time to do it.
I know Coach Lonick personally, and I'm friends with some of the dads. I mean, Landon Larson, Kalai's dad, we're texting right after the game, and he shoots back a picture of his family on the field with the congratulations CarpetLand graphic on the Jumbotron at the stadium. It was just I felt connected. And then I also had an obligation to share it with all of our viewers, and really neat stuff. I mean, yesterday it's going to be randomly one of the cooler days I've had in 21 years of working in television.
Yeah, Kevin, I thought the story is great. I always love seeing Nebraska being represented on the national stage. I don't care where it's from, whether it's Chadron, Lincoln, Omaha, doesn't matter. Just seeing the state of Nebraska being represented that way is great. I have a Lincoln question for you, just to wrap up what was maybe the calendar year of August to August, now wrapping up with this CarpetLand Legion national title. Lincoln Southwest has a historic year. They win softball, they win boys basketball. Lincoln North Star wins girls basketball. You get a couple of the first Lincoln girls wrestlers to win state championships. I know there's a few more sprinkled in there as well, too. Where do you rank this past year of just high school athletics in terms of the success the city of Lincoln has had, especially kind of in this maybe past decade or so? That's been primarily dominated a lot by Omaha, and in no fault to Lincoln, but it feels like sometimes we forget how good the capital city really can be.
100%. That's a great point. This is by far probably the best athletic year, like athletics within an academic year I can remember since arriving in Lincoln in 2004. I don't even know what it would compare to. Maybe there were some years where football was good when Lincoln Southeast won a state football championship, but across the board, as you mentioned, Austin, from last August to CarpetLand hoisting the trophy at the Legion World Series. I mean, this is cool. There were some sports that I think were trending in the right direction. You're like, man, Lincoln's starting to really take this sport over. Girls basketball in particular. You felt like something like this was coming because North Star, Southwest, Lincoln East has had some really good teams in there. There's a lot of momentum for girls basketball. But the fact that Lincoln Southwest won the boys title, first time in 20 years, and now CarpetLand does something historic like this. Waverly is not a part of Lincoln. It's outside the city limits, but they're so close. It feels like Lincoln. Waverly won a football championship, and that Class B title game was just fantastic. And that was a really fun team to follow. I've joked that this last high school season was pretty relentless, the word that I used. It's because once you tell one good story, here comes another, because the next sport happens or the next team gets hot. And, oh, by the way, again, it's not Lincoln, but Shayla Rautenberg's right down the road. And, Milford had their incredible season in volleyball. So this was really, really special. And I don't know that I truly can grasp how cool of a year it was. Maybe that's going to happen in 5 years down the line, where you start talking about you have better context. You're not so caught up in the moment. And I was even thinking about this and talking to a colleague last night about CarpetLand. There are certain teams that 5 years later you can start rattling off, oh yeah, Lincoln High football, for example. I can still tell you, Cedric Case was the quarterback. Alford was the running back. Darius Luff was on that team. Like, I can name some of the players that were regulars on the highlights. And I think the little kids that were watching those games, that they were their idols, and it's who they emulated in the backyard when they're playing football. I think 5, 10, 15 years down the line, you're going to think back to CarpetLand winning the World Series, and names are going to come to the front of the mind of Dele Odolate and Kalai Larson and Brody McIntyre, who is the American Legion Baseball Player of the Year. Are you kidding me? The Player of the Year in Legion Baseball nationally resides in Lincoln? That is just unbelievable stuff. And if anybody wants, something to do to try to learn a little bit more about the team, our high school feature story on the first day of practice at 10-11 was about 2 Lincoln East baseball players who had just won a regional championship up in Mandan, North Dakota, which is darn near Canada. They drove back through the night, got into town at 2:30 a.m. At 6 a.m., they were on the football field. Mm-hmm. This is Huxton Cott and Brennan Greesh, who's going to be the quarterback this year. They're practicing for football. They did it on Tuesday. After football practice Tuesday, back on a plane out to North Carolina. Little did they know they were going to have an extended stay in North Carolina. But I mean, that's the good stuff, right? Like, that's not even about oh, we've got a good local team in town. No, it's about kids that are just making sacrifice and doing crazy things to try to maximize their potential, be good teammates, and pour into their community. I mean, that was our high school football preview story. It wasn't about it. That was not a preview story. That's just highlighting 2 kids that have a pretty cool story.
Yeah, I was trying to think back to Austin's question about best kind of calendar sports years for Lincoln. I was going to kind of late 90s when Lincoln Southeast was really good at football and Lincoln Northeast was really, really good at boys basketball. But to get the breadth of baseball, girls basketball, everything else, I don't know that there's anything that compares. Much like Austin said, I'm very pro Nebraska being represented well on a national scale. And so to me, that's the cool part of this story, right? But there is so many details, like you mentioned, guys trying to get back for football practice and things like that. It's one of the reasons we love high school sports, right?
100%. And, some of these boys haven't been home and their families haven't been home in 2 weeks. And that's what I talked about, the investment. That's part of it. Moms and dads have not been at work and they've tried to be there for their kid because this is the once in a lifetime thing. So they left for North Dakota in the regional 2 weeks ago, and many of them went straight from North Dakota to North Carolina. And they're going to get home today at some point, prayers for safe travels, with bags under their eyes and probably a mailbox that is totally jam-packed, and their mailman might be a little bit unhappy with them. But you know what? That's the price that they paid, and they've been gone. I hope that there's a cold beverage in the refrigerator waiting for the adults. Let's make that very clear. Yeah, but I mean, you
didn't have any 21-year-olds on that CarpetLand team, I don't think.
No, but they've got some coaches that have, spent their summer on the baseball field, and they deserve a chance to kick their feet up. And by the way, the kids haven't been in school. School started last week, right? They've got a pretty good excuse. You don't need to bring the absence form to the office. Just set that big old trophy right down, at the principal's office. Say, that's why we haven't been here since school opened up last week.
Oh, man, that's great.
Kevin, I got a question for you. I want to go Lincoln Lutheran volleyball. I know that's kind of near and dear for your heart itself, but huge transition. Obviously, they're getting a new class in there. They're graduating a couple of key players. And also, Coach Ziegler obviously retired and moved on. Her name is still on the court, obviously. But that whole transition with Lincoln Lutheran, they're such the high standard program. How do you think that team, just with the senior class and Coach T being in there now too, how much pressure is it to restore, not necessarily order, but at least keep that standard so high with so much transition happening just in one program?
Austin, I don't know that there's a whole lot of pressure. Maybe that's just me and, my viewpoint of the whole thing. I feel like it's just a fresh start, right? There's a new coach and, there are a few returners from last year's team that are going to play important roles. And I'm so excited to watch them because I know they've been working really hard this summer and they've contributed the last few years. So there is a little bit of carryover, but if you look at who's, and my assumption would be on the court here in 2026, not a whole lot of them are tied, to the championships. Yes, they have medals. I don't want to diminish that. And they had roles, but outside of a select few, there's going to be some underclassmen that played. So it's not like they were on the court for the championship teams. It's their own legacy to write right now, and it's Coach Teep's program to run right now. When you walk in and you see Sue Ziegler's name on the court, yeah, there's a little bit of, but that's just a nod to history. And you'll see the championship banners, and that's just a nod to history. But because I think it hit a refresh, I don't know that the pressure really exists. I know there was definitely pressure last year because of the consecutive state championships. So, but with some of those seniors graduating and some of the younger players now taking more prominent roles, I feel like there's just a different vibe. I'm really excited and really happy for them to just see what this new trajectory looks like. And, whatever Coach Teep wants to do, it is her program. And she can emphasize passing. She can emphasize blocking, hit it. It is entirely hers to run.
Kevin, as you enter into this fall season, it feels like last year with the Legion thing is finally wrapped up. As you head into this season of prep sports in Lincoln, is there a particular program or storyline that you're interested in seeing how it plays out, that you're kind of tuned in on the most?
Oh, okay. I don't want to just be so focused on fall, Ravi, but that's a really good question. I'd go straight to basketball. Boys basketball in Lincoln, Southwest winning the championship just really kind of wasn't on anybody's bingo card, but it happened, and it was awesome. There's a lot of momentum with basketball, boys basketball in Lincoln. Can that momentum continue? Because there were some very lean years over the past 5 to 10 years. There were good players, but in terms of teams contending for a state championship, it always felt like there was a ceiling, and that was either the quarterfinals or the semifinals of state. So I'm curious about boys basketball continuing that. What does baseball look like in the spring? I think Lincoln East has a chance to have a phenomenal year in the high school baseball season because Braden Erickson, he was a junior last year. And Cade Anderson, they were both sophomores last year. So this 2028 class is going to be really good at Lincoln East. And I know Southwest, they've got some nice young talent that they're going to contend for a state championship as well. I guess that's where my mind goes first and foremost. Football wise, I'm still trying to figure out who's the best team in Lincoln this fall. I don't know. I think my interest with
are you thinking just football or all fall sports?
Shoot, now you're going to make me think about volleyball, and my brain goes straight to Norris and Milford. Norris with Mallory and Shayla leading Milford. Of course, they're going to be big players. But if we look at volleyball in Lincoln, wow, yeah, all the new coaches, right? We had moving pieces all over the place. Teeps at Lincoln Lutheran, and Katie's now at Lincoln East, and Pius pulls the Southeast coach. So, now that I have to think about high school volleyball a little bit more.
Well, don't forget Southwest softball in there too. I mean, they're probably up there as well.
So you're telling me I'm going to be really busy August again. Cool.
Sorry to put that on you, Kevin.
No, that's all good.
I know for football wise, you spent a little bit of time at Pius yesterday, right? You were there did you have to balance your time judging that and then also spending time on your phone, making sure CarpetLand was staying ahead?
So, truth be told, the Lincoln Pius the 10th feature story we aired, we're doing our high school football preview series. We're almost done. We've been to almost every Lincoln school by now. But Pius, it was either late last week it was late last week. And we had a photographer go over there. And usually we just find some stories, tell some stories, give the overview of the team, and try to find out what's unique at each school. We knew from the jump what we were going to do with Lincoln Pius the 10th because last week I went and grabbed coffee with their new football coach, Michael Grundy. And It's 8 a.m., guys, and I don't know about you. Sometimes 8 a.m. coffee, it's a little slow going for some of us, especially if you're working the night shift. There was no slow going when you're at the coffee table with Michael Grindy because he's got so much energy. I had to tighten up my belt and get my, do one of these because he instantly hits me with, football's the greatest game in the history of games. And we're going to pour into these boys. We're going to have the best time doing this. And today is and I okay, here we go. And this guy is going to be amazing on television. And he's young. He's got so much energy. And he has this pious community on fire for football right now. Alumni are starting to come to practice. And, everybody's talking about that first home game, which they're going to play against Omaha Gross, another Catholic school in week 2. And Coach Grindy told me, you got to come to practice. You got to watch them warm up. And typically warm-ups are sleepy, right? You're just touching your toes and you're doing a few of these, getting everything loose and ready to go. They make noise from the second the whistle blows to start practice to the time that he says, sprint off the field, we're done here today. So I don't know if our minute 30 of Michael Grindy mic'd up did it justice for the energy, passion, and he is on fire for not just football, not just Pius, but life. That was our hope there. This is going to be a treat to watch him coach.
I think you might have answered my question already, but is Pius a sleeper in B with the new coaching staff? I feel like they're a program that a lot of people always point to because of name, because of their success in other sports. But this season, they have a lot of those upper class B teams that if they sneak one or two of those, I think that Pius could be a team we're talking about in October.
Yeah, schedule's tough. I don't know if they're a sleeper. I just think they're a huge question mark. I would answer it this way, Austin. They are a team to watch out for over the next couple of years. I don't know whether it hits this year or next year or in 2031. I'm not sure, but you can just feel the energy and interest in football at Pius now. It's unlike it's been in a long, long time. So just the fact that they're inviting everybody, I don't know where it's going to go, but I have a pretty strong suspicion that it is pointed in the plus side of everything. Sleeper, maybe not this year, but over the next few years, short-term future, they could definitely be on the move.
Kevin, speaking of sleepers, when's the next time you're getting 8 hours of sleep in a night? You think you're going to hit that?
8.
What about 6?
I'm a 5 guy. I still remember, everybody asked me this. I'll try to wrap it up quickly here. When we were in Lama's class for our to-be firstborn child, they asked everybody in the room, you need to decide how many hours you need, not how many hours you want. My wife's answer was 8. My answer was 5. So I have operated professionally and personally on getting 5 hours of sleep every single night. I'm usually to bed by about 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm up around 6:30 on a good day because I got to get the kids up and make sure that they've got everything ready for school. So 8 hours of sleep, I don't even know what that would feel like. Just give me my 5, give me a cup of coffee, and we're good to go.
Man, Kevin Sjuts, 1011 News in Lincoln. Hashtag built different.
He is.
That's our guy. We appreciate
Team no sleep is what they call
it. We'll talk to you later, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Be good.
That is Kevin Sjuts, 1011 News in Lincoln. We'll take a quick break. We'll be right back with the new color analyst for Nebraska football, Jay Moore. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
He doesn't look like a freshman to me. I mean, he was nervous in the spring because he just got here. He was anxious. He was nervous. He settled in over the summer and just does not look like a freshman to me. I mean, he's 6'2", 210. He runs fast, has breakaway speed, has good ball skills, doing a solid job in protection. So, encouraged with where he's at. I mean, he's going to play, so we'll all see it here in a few weeks.
Yeah, Campbell and I talk a lot, and just that this is going to pay off for her. Being behind somebody who is arguably the best setter in the country and getting to learn from her, but also being able to take risk and figure out her own game without that added pressure. It's just going to help her in the long run. And I think she's very confident that, she's going to lead this program and be great here for many years, even if it just doesn't come right now.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live, presented by Next Gen Mail Medical. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. We are joined now by Jay Moore, the new color analyst for Nebraska football for the Husker Radio Network. Jay, how are we doing this morning?
I'm well. How are you guys?
Doing good, Jay.
Pulling into the parking lot here at work, so give me a
but, you need some softball questions first while you're focused on the
we're good. We're good now. We're good. So I just want to be sure I'm not driving so I can think clearly here.
No, you're all good, Jay. We appreciate you joining us this morning. First and foremost, congratulations on the new role as the color analyst for Nebraska football. I guess just kind of how did this come to be about? I mean, obviously, I know very personally that Damon has a new job, so so I'm aware of that. But how was this something you'd been interested in for a while, or how did that come to be?
It happened really fast. University reached out to me last Tuesday and asked if I was interested. And then I sat down with kind of the crew with Kyle and Jessica and Keith Mann and the other people who are kind of involved in the Husker Network that produce, the Saturday game day process. And within about a 10 or 15 minute conversation and kind of knowing them, because I'm not going to be able to do all 12 games just because of happened so quickly. I'll be able to do 10 of them for sure. And then hopefully the bowl game that they said, okay, Kyle's like, you're our guy if you want it. So I'm like, okay, here we go. Let's do it. There's an opportunity I couldn't turn down. And obviously the announcement came out yesterday and did some stuff on Monday for some headshots and pre-recorded for Sports Nightly just with schedules, but it happened very, very fast. I had some people reach out that said, hey, if it comes up, you should seriously think about doing it. I'm like, yeah, okay, but I need to be offered. And I just assumed I'm like, I don't think too highly of myself. I don't have a big ego. So I just assumed there's other qualified people that live in Lincoln or Omaha who could definitely do this job. So I just assumed other people to get a chance. But when I went in last Thursday, I thought it was going to be more of an interview and hey, let us get back to you. We got some other people to interview, but I know they had to move quickly on their end as well because the season's only a couple weeks away. So when it offered, I really even have a chance to talk to my wife. I just said, hey, I just took this job, so I'm not available a lot of Saturdays. I apologize. It's something I couldn't turn down. So yeah, it happened fast, and I'm ready to rock and roll.
Jay, when it comes to this fast turnaround and everything, I know that you have some media experience with the Big Red wrap-up series and that sort of stuff. Are you already preparing boards? Has Kyle started to walk you through some of his tendencies, or what does that look like as you are, 2 days into the job already?
Yeah, no, for sure. I've already kind of have done some research and just figuring out. To be honest, I told these guys, I've never done a board before, even when I've called football games for Nebraska Public Media on state football. I just kind of relied on the information we've gotten from the coaches and then the rosters that were provided. Obviously, I like working with Larry Putney. He's a pro at what he does, and he has his board, so I've seen him, but I just haven't. But I'm looking forward to just going through that process. I'm gonna approach this like I did as a player. Try to watch as much film, utilize technology to help me get the boards. I think AI is going to be a big help, to be honest, on just getting the boards set up and putting in PDFs and all those things. So I'm going to use technology to my help because this isn't my full-time job. This is, I have other things to do, but I'm going to prepare just like I would as a player and put everything I can into this and to be prepared as possible. And I know, Kyle and I have chatted, there's going to be a learning curve. we're going to do the first game. I can't do the second game, Bowling Green. So, but we're going to have to work to feed off each other, and there's going to be a learning process. But ultimately, I'm just going to try to relay as much information as I can in a very short period of time in between plays, just to try to see what I see from a player's perspective and a defensive-minded player's perspective too, because Damon's done it and Matt Davison, and you've had a lot of former offensive guys, but I have a defensive, philosophy in mind to the game. So just try to relay that information as best I can to people that are listening.
Jay, obviously, each former player has sort of a different connection to the program in their current and sort of adult life, right? And I'm sort of fascinated by how each player kind of represents themselves and how they stay connected to the program. Why was it important to you to be connected to the program in this way as we continue moving forward in the Matt Rule era?
Yeah, I think I love this program to, more than anything. Growing up, I could almost name you the roster, as a kid. So I watched every game, listened to on the radio when it wasn't on, the games at Iowa State and some of the games that were, I listened to the broadcasts on the radio as a kid in the backyard throwing the football around with my dad or my younger brother. And then obviously having the opportunity to play and live out a childhood dream. And I watch every single game. At times I say this, I hate that I love it so much, because with that, there's been obviously some frustration with results, but ultimately just to be involved, I think very, very highly of Matt Rule. I love what he's done. I love the staff that he's accumulated here. He's had to make some tough decisions. I love the moves that we've made within the transfer portal. Pat Stewart actually just lives around the corner from me, so we chat all the time. And this opportunity doesn't come around a lot, and it happened very quickly. So just to be involved, I'll go to more practices, get to know the players more, get to know the staff more, because I ultimately care. I truly care about the program and the development of it and the future of it. And if I can have a little bit of part of that and just seeing them grow and get better each and every week and ultimately get to where I think they can get, I think that's just an awesome opportunity just for me to, as a kid growing up in the state, wanting to play football, got opportunity to play football at Nebraska, and then still be involved much later in life it's like I said with Kyle on Sports Night, it's another dream come true. It was a dream for me to play football there, but now I get to call the games with a true professional, Kyle Crooks, and still be involved to some extent. I just don't know what more a guy could ask for.
Jay, as the role of an alum in your position, I know you mentioned it's just like a passion project. It's your ability to be able to put a place that you love kind of at the highest stage and such. Is that something that was maybe just your own personal brand, how you feel about Nebraska, or is that something that's instilled with you and maybe just the alumni base in general, that it's something that you want to put the program on the highest pedestal possible in whatever way you can, whether it's you on the radio, if it's someone else that's doing something for, just promoting the university? Is that something that's discussed in the alumni ranks?
Well, I think I have an interesting seat because I wasn't part of, the national championships. I was kind of the first early part of the change of the regime, right? I was recruited from Coach Solich, and I was able to spend 2 years, and obviously I was part of Bill Callahan's program. And then we know what's kind of happened since then. It's been a revolving door of coaching staffs and chasing expectations, and obviously coaches not living up to what is the standard at Nebraska. And I Coach Roy will tell you this, it's still not to where he wants to be, but I truly believe he can get there. I think some other former players have some different point of views and different opinions, but ultimately I see the process. I see the work that's going in. Yeah, I know it hasn't been where they're at, but I love the energy. I love just the attention to detail. I love the resources that they have that's being put into the program. And I'm a glass half full type of guy. I think every day is a new day. Every game is an opportunity to improve. Every practice is a chance to get better. And if you have that mentality, which I think this team and this staff does, why not go out and achieve things? And why not go tell people that, let's be honest, right now, a lot of people don't think Nebraska has a good chance this year. But I'd say, why not? They've gotten better. They're going to be better on the lines of scrimmage. I know the schedule's hard, but guess what? The schedule's going to be difficult every single year. The Big Ten's brutal to play. I don't care if it's Minnesota, Rutgers, Maryland, Michigan State, but those are hard games. And just because you have Indiana and Ohio State and Oregon and Washington and Iowa, okay, but prove people wrong. Go win those games, be competitive, show that you're making the right steps, and go be better. And I just have that mentality. I'm never going to think that it's we can't beat these teams. It's we're going to be fighting to make a bowl game. I don't think that way. I think that this team can be better. I know they can be better. I know they will be better this year, despite what the schedule says and despite what the fan bases and even some former players think. So I just want to get that out and relay that, and just I care. I have a passion for this program, and if I can relay that information and to the best of my ability, from my knowledge, from my football acumen, and how I think, that's a win-win for everybody.
Well, Jay, you check all the boxes for me. You got Nebraska native, black shirt, former 49er, my favorite NFL team.
Come on.
And optimist. I mean, I'm all in, Jay. I appreciate that. I do want to ask you, part of your answer there, I do wonder, obviously the landscape of college football is so much different than when we're about the same age, than when we were growing up, or obviously when you were playing at Nebraska. Where do you see Nebraska fitting into the current landscape of college football? Because as you pointed out, a lot of people think, maybe this new world of college football just isn't made for people like Nebraska anymore. Where do you see the Huskers fitting in as a football program in the current landscape of college football?
Yeah, I think they fit in perfectly because we're the only show in town. We don't have NFL teams. We don't have other Division I colleges. And this is when it's fall and it's Nebraska football, Nebraska volleyball. And then when it's winter, it's Nebraska basketball and women's basketball and wrestling. And then it's spring, it's softball and baseball, right? And track. And we've seen all these other programs take the next step. We saw what Fred was able to do in basketball this winter. We saw what baseball was able to do. We saw what softball was able to do. The track and field, wrestling. Obviously, volleyball has been the top player in volleyball for decades, right? So it's time for Nebraska to take that step. But the resources are there. The facilities are fantastic. The budget is increasing for the transfer portal and paying players in this NIL era. Now it's just time to show put the results in there and put the work in. I love how they're kind of quietly going about their business right now, and just have that workman's mentality. But yes, 100% they can fit in this landscape. Here's the thing: if they get better results this year, I know people are a little more pessimistic right now with the schedule and how they finished last year. But you show any improvement, and you show you don't necessarily have to beat Indiana and Oregon and Ohio State, but you show you can compete, and you have this. You're in a game in fourth quarter, and you beat the teams you're supposed to beat. People who are kind of on the sidelines, who are huge supporters, donors, boosters, whatever you want to call them, they see those results and they see the improvement. They're going to be willing to give more money. It's just right now, they're at a point where the ROI on what they've done, it's not fitting them right now. But yeah, I think without a doubt, Nebraska can fit in this landscape. They've made necessary adjustments. Once the results come, which they're going to be coming, I think the additional support is going to be on the way. So without a doubt, they fit perfectly in this landscape just because we're the only show in town. And people in this state care deeply about Nebraska athletics. And like I said, other sports have raised their standard. It's just time for Nebraska to raise their standard this year.
All right, Jay, I want to go back to the Husker Radio network of it all. You mentioned the Nebraska native part. You played for the team. You were able to continue following the team into your professional football career. And then obviously post-football, you continue with the media landscape. When you think back on some of your favorite memories of listening into what was happening in the broadcast booth and then projecting what was going on in the field, is there a voice that sticks out the most to you? And do you have a favorite memory? I know there's been a lot of great names that have come through that broadcast booth, but is there maybe a moment and a name that sticks with you the most?
I mean, we had Greg Rose and Adrian Fiala were calling games when I was playing, and I still get called the Elkhorn Antler because that's what Greg Rose always kind of referred to me as when I was there. So I still have people that, hey, it's Jay Moore, the Elkhorn Antler. So that always sticks out. But I mean, what Sharp was able to do for so many years and call so many great games, and the Hail Mary call against Northwestern, and just some of those, the K-State game where Martinez ran crazy on a Thursday night, I think, down in Manhattan. I mean, then you look back to Kent Pavelka's days, and when I was a kid, when not every game was on the radio, and you think about Tommy Frazier's run against Florida in a national championship game. You think about, I remember watching it would have been the 94 season, the 95 Orange Bowl against Miami, and Corey Schlesner getting those fullback traps and running them in and dropping the football on his helmet over, in the end zone, and just hearing those calls, but just going back and hearing it all. There's so many instances that, Nebraska football has been so good for so long that we've had so many great calls, and even with Damon in there and these last few years, and then with Kyle last year, I think it's hard to pick one. I mean, there's so many, but I just think back to Kent Pavelka's days, and in the 90s, calling those games against an October in Ames, and where it wasn't on TV, or November in Lawrence, Kansas, and those old Big 8 days. I remember them all. There's so many great instances, but whether it's calling myself Greg calling me the Elkhorn Antler, or but those Pavelka days definitely stand out to me the most, just as a kid, just living and dying by every single play that Nebraska football had during that time frame.
Jay, as you get ready for this new role, what's one of the things you're just looking forward to most about this upcoming Nebraska season?
Yeah, it's just finding my process and what works for me, and getting to learn how the game day operates. It's just not showing up 5 minutes before kickoff and putting the headphones on. No, it's the 2-hour pregame show. We're have to get there 4 hours before, and just sitting down with Ben and Kyle and having those discussions. But ultimately, I think going to all the road games. I won't be able to do the Illinois game, but going to Oregon, go to Michigan State, going to Rutgers, going to Iowa on a Friday. I'm looking forward to those road games. And also, I'm just looking forward to knowing the program just a little more in depth. I obviously have a good understanding just because of doing other radio shows and Big Red Wrap Up, but really diving into the details a little more, getting understand the opponent better, and so I can relay that information to the fans better. There's a lot that I'm looking forward to doing, but ultimately, just being able to travel with the team, to go to those road games, and just evolving my relationship with the program just a little more in depth. I've in the past, I've been able to go to maybe a handful of practices throughout the year, and that's counting spring ball and during the season. Obviously, with work and kids stuff, it makes it harder, but I'm gonna try to go to one practice a week and watch and just have a great understanding, and just developing and just understanding the identity of this team. Every year a team has a new identity, and just understanding that and seeing all the hard work, so that motivates me to put that same work and that same effort into the broadcast each and every week.
Jay, last question that I have for you is we just wrapped up the Schick and Nick Live 5 yesterday. They're big proponents on who's ever in the booth, whether it was Matt Davison, whether it was DB, and even, the play-by-play guys too. I think the question that they have if they were in this chair is math coming back to the broadcast booth? They want to know if you're going to bring the DB math back again.
Yeah, the whole 11 minus 7 that equals that definitely is not going to be. I'll try to work it in just like an ode to DB because I appreciate him, and we developed a good relationship just with doing Big Red Wrap Up, and I think the world of DB. So everyone's asking me, what's my catchphrase? I'm like, I don't know, guys. Like, this is, right now it's kind of like getting a drink out of a fire hydrant, just with everything. So I'll figure that out. But yeah, I'll see if I can work the math in here, and I'll ask DB what his go-to was. Maybe I'll kind of throw some wrinkles in there. But I just got to be careful because I had a Freudian slip on Big Red Wrap Up earlier this spring, or I misspoke talking to Robin Washit, and I got exposed on one of Schick and Nick's shows. I don't know if you guys caught that, but I asked Rob. I wanted to ask him if he was did he jump or dive into the down in Oklahoma City into the river, and then I misspoke, so I got jump and dive mixed up my head. I said, "Did you take a dump into the into the canals?" And he's like, "I didn't do either." And then everyone just started laughing, like, "Oh my gosh, you do this stuff long enough that you have those little slip ups." So Schick and Nick definitely exposed me on that. So hopefully, I'm sure a few of those might happen throughout the year. But yeah, I'm working on some catchphrases. Trust me, I've had plenty of people send me some already, but I don't know how I'm going to work in. But I got to try to work in some of those math equations, just like DB did.
Well, that's an easy one for you. I mean, you just said it. If something looks really bad, you could just say it looks like a dump in the Oklahoma City River. That's the key one. Just go right there.
Touche.
Jay, if you need to feel any better, just listen to the last 10 minutes of our show yesterday in the first hour. I had a pretty bad one as well. That I'm just going to leave that to your imagination. But no, Jay, DB has always spoken very highly of you, so we appreciate you joining us here today, and hopefully we'll get to talk to you quite a bit more throughout the season as well.
Yep, awesome, guys. Thanks for having me on, and holler if you need anything, and always happy to hop on and discuss a little ball.
Appreciate it, Jay.
That is Jay Moore, not just a former Husker, but a former 49er as well. Why
you got to do that?
Because I love the 49ers.
Did he play with Singletary, under Singletary?
No, he was there. Maybe it was 7 through 9, I think. 07 through 07, 09, 010.
09, 010, somewhere in there.
I'm trying to remember who was the 49ers coach, and that's not like Mike Nolan, is it?
I think it might be. Nolan.
Are we in the Mike Nolan era
times
there? Yeah.
But everyone was relatively positive about Nolan. They're like, he's going to turn it around.
Listen, I got
that
fooled.
was a really talented 49ers roster.
I got fooled by the suits. He was wearing suits to games, and I was like, I'm in. Look at this guy.
You were just Big East Pill. That was the only thing. You were just used to coaches looking good on the sideline. That's what you wanted.
He was. Listen, Mike Nolan was. He was sharply dressed. I think his dad wore suits on the sideline, so it was a kind of an homage to him, but it didn't help. It didn't help him win at all. It didn't. Let's see what we got here. No. Okay, so he was under Nolan and Singletary.
That's nice.
Very good.
Nice.
We got both of those done.
He's got some stories. No substation though. That's why he's still with us.
That's true.
His
That's
knees
true.
aren't vaporized.
That's why he's able to still make it into the stadium, because he didn't have to deal with Chernobyl next to the stadium, which is good.
I'm very excited to listen in.
I think it's going to be great. I'm excited.
Yeah.
He's it was a great choice. It wasn't clear to me who the obvious candidates were. I mean, there was a few guys that kind of come to mind, and he was certainly one of them. But it didn't seem, like DB was a pretty obvious choice when Davison moved on, and I thought that made a ton of sense. But I'm glad it's Jay. He's I don't know him super well, but like I said, DB spoke glowingly of Jay whenever he came up. I think mostly from their interactions on like Big Red Wrap Up and things like that.
Yeah,
so.
and I know that that job will come with nerves and anxiousness and stuff too.
Yeah.
But I think just from the general fan base, like I'm excited to listen because Jay is used to the media side of it.
It's
so
exciting.
There's that part of just being the professional sense and what I should and shouldn't say. He's also, and I'm glad we got a little bit into it, just about the alumni thing and his passion and how he feels about the university and promoting it, and especially the program. And I like the fact as well that being the former player, that's a great spot, obviously, in the radio booth to be there too. But he's knowledgeable. Like he's had to stay knowledgeable. He doesn't just keep going on Big Red Wrap Up. He doesn't keep being asked back to be, a routine guest for people on shows and stuff if he didn't know what he was talking about. I think he does a really good job of that. And I'm excited to hear how that transition goes because, Kyle goes a mile a minute sometimes. And so it'll be interesting to hear that dynamic. But that was one thing I always enjoyed about Kyle and DB is that DB felt like sometimes, especially that Cincinnati game, listening back, very grounded and was able to kind of bring Kyle back in a few times.
Sure.
So nothing bad on Kyle by any means, but just there was so much going in that game, so built up that it was. Well,
and it was Kyle's first game.
Yeah,
and, it was a big deal there for him as well. But no, it'll be really interesting as Jay, kind of finds his own voice and finds his footing as the color analyst. I'm excited to listen to him. I should have warned him. I forgot. I should have warned him about Kyle's water bottles.
Oh yeah,
Kyle has a water bottle problem. He he drinks like 3 sips and then just leaves them. Apparently, this is
because was it Minnesota that DB said that they had the cups?
Yes, and it was a disaster. That might be why they lost. No bottles, only
that
cups.
Could be true.
Like that would be a huge problem. But no, DB
You're right. That was the biggest problem at Minnesota.
Yeah,
Correct.
Sure, that was definitely it. But like DB has sent me pictures of the booth, and I'm like, where all these water? It looks like he's in signs.
Yeah,
like he's just like got the waters all over the place. He's
just leaving them out,
expecting the aliens to come or something. It was that's a very dated reference, but
no, that's not. It's not that dated. Signs is not youthful, but people would know signs.
I mean, it's over 20 years old.
Yeah,
but
even like the Wands and the Kobe's in our chat, I'm sure have seen signs. Yeah, I'm sure they've seen signs. I've seen signs, but I'm a cinephile. So.
I don't know. I'd admit that out loud.
What's wrong with liking movies?
I'm just kidding. You and Brandon both.
Don't say it like that.
Yeah, it's.
Okay, Darth Maul. What was that? Don't say it like that.
Oh, this is what happens when you smoke. Be careful. Radio Rico AC here. Now you're just being rude.
Rico, did you pick up a pack of Marlboro Reds today? What happened?
You ever want to say, you ever want to give the thank you speech at your daughter's wedding? Don't be like me.
No, when the coffee's too hot, but you're really thirsty and you take a drink? Yeah, it burned my throat.
Did you just wake up? Are you just now starting work today? What happened?
Brother, I am like 12 clips deep. I have not just woke up.
Got clips? Clips?
Empty the clip. That's Rico.
Clip. He's got him.
You sound a little rough this morning, Rico. That's all I'm saying.
All right, Rico. Sorry we made you work. Our bad. We'll do that again.
I slept on the couch last night. It's fine.
Oh,
Miles was not trying to stay in his crib.
Got to be careful there.
Yeah.
I've never had that problem.
Same.
Thank God.
Notably. Yeah. Notably. That's never been an issue for me.
Let's take a quick break, though. We appreciate Jay Moore joining us. I'm really excited to get to talk to him, and hopefully we'll get him a few times throughout the season. But we also need to check in with the rest of the team. Got to check in with Kyle and Jess as well. Make sure they're Make sure I know Jess is
seeing DB a little more.
Yeah.
That's a blessing and a curse, I'm sure.
I wonder how she feels with the role shift, right? Because I felt like there was some level of control she had over DB before.
Right.
Now I feel like the reins are off. This might be a little bit of a loose cannon situation.
I think we do need to check in with Jess.
Yeah.
We should.
I'm concerned more than anything.
We should poke in, maybe just check.
I don't know what you're talking about.
And also, she needs to reconnect with Shane.
That's true.
Yeah, we do need to bring Shane and Jess back together.
That's true.
I also need an update on her dog.
That's true. I love
Not that
Sunny.
there's anything wrong. I just
All right, have a good day. Bye, Shane.
I just want to see the dog.
Yeah, I love Sunny.
Yeah.
There was a dog on the patio at Hurrdat Sports the other day.
Really?
Or Hurrdat Sport at the Bar and Grill
Last
yesterday.
night?
Yeah.
Oh, I missed that.
His name was Rip.
Rip the dog?
Yeah.
I would give if I were naming my dog Rip, it's going to be RIPP.
I don't know. I don't know how it was spelled. I didn't ask, but I did go. I said, can I say hi to the dog? And they go, yeah, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And he was very upset he wasn't getting any food.
Naturally.
From the table.
Yeah.
Good dog, about 6 months old. I couldn't tell. I think he was some sort of a mix of dog breeds. I couldn't, kind of had like a lab face, but he had like very interesting like paw coloring. He's a beautiful dog.
Sometimes, especially at the younger stages, I go for demeanor more to kind of figure out what the dominant part of the mix is.
It felt very labby demeanor, like it was.
Ravi said, "I am also a dog."
Yeah, no, I did not do that. He was very friendly, was very excited to receive pets. Was just like, hey, buddy, what's going on?
That's good.
No, I was excited. And then I told Sasha about it. She ran outside immediately. I was like, Sasha, there's a dog outside?
Is this when I was going through my 7 levels of hell?
No, this was before. This was before the show. Yeah, no, it was.
It's fine.
The toughest part about producing a live show is that as soon as something goes wrong and you can't figure it out, you're stuck. And you're like, oh no.
You're like, this train ain't stopping.
I was in a certain level of hell that I could not get out of. I was on the crazy train.
I thought you recovered well. Thought you did a good job.
We did good. I appreciate Schick and Nick for bailing me out a couple of times when I just went, buy me some time.
Yeah, no, they are out of the people to have technical difficulties with. I have to imagine they're pretty high on the list of like guys you would prefer.
Yeah,
they're going to vamp and they'll make light of it and not make it a big deal. But it reminded me why we do the show here now.
My God.
I was like, literally as that's happening, I was like, thank God we have our own studio.
Literally naturally at the bar all the time. And Shane can test this too.
Yes.
That
sometimes things would just go wrong and you're just like,
we
what's
legitimately
happening?
tested it all. Everything was perfectly fine. And then the minute we start, it was like everything just like deep fried itself.
As soon as you hit live, the entire studio collapses.
That's actually legitimately what happened. We started the show and I had everything preloaded and ready, and then my entire screen froze, refreshed, and came back and everything was gone. And I was like, oh, this is so excellent. So perfect.
You just go full Jake Peralta. Cool.
Well, and it was funny too because then Sasha and Pat are coming up to me and they just kept patting me on the back. They're like, you're gonna be okay. And I was like, I'm fine. Like I'm just working through this. I'm working quickly to make this work and I'm trying to process. And I think that they thought I was having a meltdown. I was like, I'm not. I'm just trying to figure it out.
Also, please stop touching me.
Yes. I don't want to be rubbed between the shoulder blades.
I'm sorry.
And it was very funny too, because right before that, I was like almost belittling both of them because I was like, you guys are so stressed, smile a little bit. It's supposed to be fun. And then I kept yelling at Sasha. I was like, Sasha, if you don't trust me, stay here. But you should leave. Like, go celebrate the rest of your evening. Do something fun. And she goes, oh, I don't know. I just want to be here. And I was like, no, go do your own activities. You've been doing enough.
Yeah.
And then because she stayed, everything failed. So I blame her.
Oh, so this is Sasha's fault.
It has to be. Yeah. If she would have just trusted me in my ability to produce a live show, we would have been fine. But it's fine.
Just too much pressure.
Okay, Shane.
No,
Literally
told you what happened.
Before Austin left for the day yesterday, I go, do you need me? And he goes, nah, we're good.
I mean, what would you have done, Rico? Like
absolutely nothing. I would.
That's kind of the point. Is like
Rico and I would have done the collective. This is the best job of producing: is unplugging something and plugging it into a different way. And you're like, maybe that will do it.
The unplugging and plugging would have gone faster.
Slightly. Pause.
Maybe. Yeah. So that was. Let's take a break before I make fun of Rico while he's not here. The plays under review.
Big plugging guy.
Plays under review.
I am not DB.
DB the plug.
I can't believe that's one of the last segments he ever did. And I was like, what a great title. He's never going to see this.
Honestly, it's fitting. I feel it was a good representation of the show that we did.
Good times.
Hashtag DB the plug. Speaking of plugs.
What could you...
I was going to make a Penn State cocaine fraternity joke there.
Is that what we're talking about next?
Nah, probably not. That's Austin. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. It's Hurrdat Sports Live.
Yeah, Danny lines up and expects to make a play on the ball if the ball's coming at him. Like he hasn't played any college football yet, so he needs reps. He's taking those reps. He likes football. He's smart, but he's competitive. And anytime you play a freshman in that position, you have to be willing to help them through some things. But mentally, he's a lion. He attacks, and the ball's in the air. He tries to go get it, and he's got great length, great hands.
Your schedule is filling up. Get back to busy at Edwards Kia. Lease the 2027 Kia Seltos S starting at just $269 a month. Ready for every run on the calendar. 2 great leases, 1 less thing to worry about. We've also got the 2026 Kia Sportage EX starting at $249 a month. Don't wait. Get back to busy this August at Edwards Kia.
What have been the sentiments that you've heard from fans once they come to Omaha Supernovas match, see the talent, see the atmosphere, the environment, everything?
And I can't tell you how many people, when I am back in Nebraska and I travel around or I'm in the airport, come up and tell me they've got Supernova. They're so proud to tell me they've got Supernova season tickets. The other thing I see is some of the events we go to, how many moms and daughters there are. Now, I remember growing up, my dad would take me to San Diego Charger football game in the old Balboa Stadium. And I thought that was really cool. And then when the Padres showed up, he would take me there. Now you've got the moms taking the daughters to go see pro volleyball. And to me, that has been one of the things that I want to get involved with it, because that is telling everybody this thing is going to grow. And you've got all these young girls dreaming of being supernovas, and I see how they mob our players afterward, and they're wearing the supernova gear. So it's pretty cool to see what's happening in professional volleyball.
You're listening to Hurrdat Sports Live.
I don't want to paralyze them. I want to run off the ball and I want to play violent, be violent with our hands. And if you give them 17,000 things to think of, they're not going to do that. And I want to play, I want to be simple, and I think, you just get guys that love football and you can coach them off the film. Sometimes when you get an older group, you can fix it in the film room. You don't have all the time in the world to go fix it. So I just want them playing fast and not thinking. And if they do that, at the end of the day, then we'll have a chance to be successful, even if it's not perfect. Because, guys, offensive line's an imperfect position. It's never going to be perfect. I'm never going to be happy till the last day of bowl practice or college football play, whatever. It's just the way it is.
Welcome back, Hurrdat Sports Live. That's Austin. I'm Ravi here at Hurrdat Sports HQ. Don't forget to call our friends over at Next Gen Male Medical, 402-614-9700. Whether you're a male, whether you're female, no matter what, they can get you where you need to go in terms of how incredible timing on that sneeze there, how you're feeling physically. Maybe you're a little under the weather, need a little B12 shot.
Maybe you've been sneezing a lot.
Maybe that's what I need to do. Get over there and get a little boost, get a little immune boost. They've got those shots. They got the Hercules shots. They've got peptides. They've got hormones. whatever you need to get feeling your best. They'll have a conversation with you, see what's going on with you and how you're feeling, and they will put together a plan customized for you. It's not just a write a prescription and get you out the door. It is a one-stop shop to get you feeling your best. It's Next Gen Male Medical. 402-614-9700. Jeep Wade brought up something interesting in that clip.
Oh, okay.
A couple interesting things, I think. But there is a couple things that I've been thinking a lot about. And
Couple
it's
is two.
Couple. Yeah. 1, 2. Number one is talking about allowing guys to play simple and fast, right? And I think there's a mindset, and I'd be interested to talk to either Geep or Rob Orich about this, because those are the two guys we've heard the most talk about simple and fast and violent, right?
And it's not just been said by them, but said by multiple people that surround them.
Almost all the players that we've heard from those rooms talk about being simple, fast, and violent, right? Violent hands, got to play fast, keep things simple. And the interesting thing about that to me, this is how I take it, is if you trust the talent level of the players and the development of your players, you can allow them to just play fast and play football, right? If you are it sort of feels like a micromanager, like if you're working at a company and you have a manager that is always just like, hey, make sure you do it like this, and then just do it like this, and then whatever, it feels like they don't think you know how to do your job. Whether you do or not, that's how it comes off, is they don't trust you to do your job. They either don't trust your skill set, they don't trust your demeanor. There's something about you they don't trust to do the job right. And to a certain extent, more so on the defense last year than the offensive line, but Jeep made the comment, so I think it's worth bringing up both. I think there was a lack of trust in their ability to just go out and make plays when put in the right position. I've talked a lot about trying to make the perfect play call for the perfect situation all the time.
Is he talking in the whole of the offense or the offensive line specifically?
I think he's talking about the offensive line specifically. I think Rob Orich is talking about the defense as a whole, right? And but we've listened to Dana Holgorsen quite a bit talk about, hey, routine plays, right? Hey, you just got to make the routine plays. So I think there's a similar thread there, even if Dana Holgorsen has used a little bit different terminology. Routine and simple to me are very similar in terms of what they mean within that offensive room. And if you trust your guys to make the routine plays, to make the simple plays, and allow them to play fast, I think that means you have a certain level of trust with the guys on your roster.
Can I ask you just a clarifying question?
Yeah.
When we say and this is something I'm kind of catching myself on this too. When we've said the simplicity of something defensively, I think that means something different. But I guess for this offensive line, when we say like simplicity, what does that necessarily mean? Does that mean like my technical steps, I'm not worried about, where my right, left foot, all that, my hand placement? Does that mean simple? Does it mean, hey, you only have one assignment, don't worry about the next step or any of that? Like what?
I think, and we'd have to clarify with Jeep Wade here on what exactly he means, but I do think there is, I think they're both the same thing. I think you're talking about schematics. I think with the offensive line, and he talked about this with us when he came on the show, about, hey, we're going to do, I think he talked about counter with me and DB. And he talked about, hey, we ran that I don't remember the number that he gave us, but he said, we ran that a bunch of times, just over and over and over. We got really, really good at that. I think there is something to, hey, let's do 5 things 1,000 times instead of 1,000 things 5 times. That's what I take both from the defense and the offensive line when we're talking about simplicity.
So it's more execution, or repetitive execution.
Yes, like the number of reps you're allowed to get by keeping things simple. And again, if you execute simple things at a high level, you will be very, very effective. I don't think anybody would argue with that. I think that's the secret sauce of, if you want to take some things from the 90s that are portable, I think that's one of the things from the 90s that are portable. You take simple things and you execute them at the highest possible level, and that will be successful. I mean, Verge used to very, very famously tell a story that would say he would tell the guy in front of him, hey, we're coming right at you, big boy. Try and stop it. And famously, they couldn't.
Yeah.
Right? Like that was a simple thing, so simple that you could tell the guy exactly what you were going to do. And if you execute at a high enough level, it does not matter. And listen, I think there's still a long way to go between where they're at now and obviously that level of execution. But I think you have to start somewhere. And I think it's really interesting when the second thing that I think Jeep Wade said that was really interesting is saying, hey, it's never going to be quite perfect, but you're striving towards perfection, right? And I think that's fair, not just on the offensive line, which he was talking about specifically. I think it's kind of throughout the football team.
I think it's easy to say, too, from the offensive line perspective, because we've considered, and this has been something that's been said as well, that I don't think we applied it to the offensive line necessarily, but when we've heard Rule talk about running backs throughout his entire tenure at Nebraska, it's been, I want a running back that can take a 5-yard run 35 yards or 70 yards or 75, whatever that extra number is. You break tackles at the second level. But when you reference it like that, it reminds me of those conversations, because simplicity on the offensive line, if you handle your job up front and your running back makes the play on the second level, the offensive line isn't pressured to force big runs, like to create big plays. You trust your running back to make that extra play, to make a man miss, but you create the opportunity to do that. And I think that that's a huge step, because, not necessarily in the offensive line. We actually, you know what? This is a great example, because the past 3 years, we've actually seen the different styles and the different levels of running back excel and also not be able to flourish in those systems, because whether Donovan Raiola's system at offensive line was simple or not, Emmett Johnson, when the run game allowed him to, made those plays at the next level.
Made
right?
the extra yards.
Yes. And so it was the running back that had pressure, I guess, quote unquote, to make the bigger runs, to make something more of what was presented to him. But I think the issue was the regularity of how that happened, right? Because that's where we go back to, and you look back at the average yards per rush, the pass blocking specifically, that sort of stuff. So if Jeep Wade cleans up that sort of semblance, again, it's the simple steps. When you reference it like that, it kind of opens my mind a little bit more on the pass blocking especially, and the initial run game. If you have a simplicity in the passing game, you're not asking Anthony Calandria to make some wild, crazy play, because if they do their job and up front and they take their assignments, the passing game is much easier. Everything is easier if you understand where your assignment is, instead of trying to say, hey, we've got to buy 5 seconds of time and you got to loop and watch all this other stuff and all that. The simpler it is, the better opportunity you have for your playmakers to make plays, because then they are the expected playmakers rather than the offensive line opening up those gaps for you.
I think every offensive coordinator, offensive line coach, head coach would tell you, especially in the running game, right? Obviously in the passing game, you have shot plays that you take, and you're trying to hit a big play with those. But in the run game specifically, you have plays that you think might go for more yardage, especially, sometimes I don't want to call them gadget plays, but plays that are a little bit unorthodox. But for the most part, in your base running game, you're never scheming up like a 30-yard run.
Right, yeah.
Right? You're scheming up, hey, if we execute this correctly, we should get somewhere between 5 and 7 yards here, right? Like that's sort of what you're scheming for. And then to your point, whether you've got an Amir Abdullah or an Emmett Johnson or one of these guys that is a super high-level playmaker, then you allow for yourself to say, hey, if we get the execution to the point where we get those 5 to 7 yards that we have schemed for, then that running back will have an opportunity to make a play and break a touchdown or break a big run or whatever. It's what Coach Rule's talked about since he got here, about turning 5-yard runs into 50-yard runs. The 5-yard run is the thing you scheme for. The 50-yard run is where the individual takes over in terms of their ability.
And I mean, in the opposite sense, Michigan, probably simplistic in their offensive game style and what they did last year, but they were able to take advantage of when a defense is out of position against Nebraska, and a defense isn't able to step up and make the plays. And if you stay in your simplicity and you just say, listen, everything that we do right now could open up for a big play, those were, again, 5-7-yard plays that turned into 75-yard runs. And it was against Nebraska, but that's a good example of looking at it the opposite way and just saying, yeah, this is how they executed with grand opportunities, because a defense was out of position, because the defense was out of place. They took advantage of it because they didn't have to move too far or think too far ahead to make it happen.
And I think when you're looking at the rest of the offense as a whole, this is why I think sometimes people talk about short passing game as sort of an extension of the running game, right? It's not just because of the actual yardage, but especially in when Dana Holgorsen talks about, well, I've still got some air raid concepts and stuff like that. A lot of those air raid concepts are scheming to get 5 to 7 yards, right? And again, if Isaiah Hunter, as we saw a couple times last year, then makes an outstanding individual play and takes it to the house, that's awesome, right? But that play is designed to be like, hey, I feel like if we execute this well, we get 5 to 7 yards. And then if either the defense is in the wrong place, or Isaiah Hunter or whoever else, Ja'Cory Barney or whoever, makes a great individual play after that, then you have an opportunity to really have an explosive play. But those are the things when you're talking about air raid concepts or short passing game concepts. A lot of the reason I think people refer to it as, hey, this is sort of an extension of the running game, is because of that. It is a thing that you can scheme up for a certain amount of yards, and then it's sort of on either the defense to make a mistake or your player to make an outstanding play in order to turn that into something more. Whereas more true passing game, you're designing for something else, right? You're designing for, hey, we need to get past the sticks here. We need a 12-yard, we need a 12-yard curl route or whatever, right? To get you into a position, or, hey, we want to take a shot play here and try and get a big play, take the top off the defense, loosen things up a little bit. Those are, to me, different goals than in the short passing game and some of those air raid concepts, because that was the big thing with the air raid is within a certain kind of area past the line of scrimmage, you can really scheme things open. Like if your players are executing they brought this up with Ja'Cory Barney. If your players are able to execute your route running at a high level, and Ja'Cory Barney last couple of years because of some like strength and weight issues hasn't always been able to do that. But if you have a guy that can execute that route running at a really high level, then really hard to keep that guy from getting open. Like you can execute at a high level to make sure that guy gets open within a certain area of the field. And that gives you opportunities to, again, execute those, whether it's routine plays the way Dana Holgerson says them, whether it's simple plays or simple concepts the way Jeep Wade and Rob Orch talk about them. That, to me, I think is going to be really interesting to see how that plays out, because that's something we've heard across the board, both sides of the ball, from the players in that room. Is that something they can actually do? Because that, to me, is the difference between winning and losing games, these games that Nebraska, quote unquote, should win.
Is talent and simplicity in scheme related?
I don't think so.
I have a second question to that. I don't know if you want to elaborate more on that, but
no, I mean, you can ask the second part.
Okay, so the reason I asked that is if Nebraska is just, they have simple schemes, but they execute them great, and their talent is where it's at, which, again, I've notably felt that the roster as a whole, I feel like, is actually in the upper, maybe top 7 of the Big Ten Conference. I feel very confident in that. But again, their execution has been what's held back a talented roster.
Absolutely.
In its 12 games, how many of those games can Nebraska win just simply by staying in a simple scheme and out-talenting the other team? And I don't want to, this isn't necessarily like a, hey, break down the games and all that, but just in terms of that, is that easy enough to make that?
Out-talenting, I think out-executing.
Okay, I'll give you that. So simple scheme, out-executing.
With the talent,
I feel like with the talent, you have to put with the talent.
With the talent level they have.
Yes.
If
so
they
out of the 12 games on this schedule,
if they just execute at a super high level, with the talent they have, I think you're looking at 9.
Because
there is only 3 games where I think that if they don't that they would have to do something above and beyond are Indiana, Oregon, and Ohio State.
Yes. Because
outside of that, if you execute at a super high level, I think the talent level is good enough to win the other 9
And
games.
I think, and listen, there's going to be people that see this, that aggregate this, and that will say, oh, well, you can't throw, Iowa, whatever. Listen, the simple truth is that
we're talking about how Iowa plays.
Iowa has out-executed Nebraska at every step for the past decade plus.
Yeah.
There are some iterations of Iowa that have been much better talent-wise than Nebraska. But over the past, I would even argue 3 years, I think Nebraska is a better talented roster than Iowa, but they have beaten them because they out-executed Nebraska at key moments and at certain points of the game. I mean, that 24 game is a great example of it. Nebraska was out-talenting Iowa all over the field, but Iowa's execution on a few key plays with their best players, I think that's a stark difference too, is that when your best players make a well-executed play at the right time, you win a lot of games and you win them very close. And that is Iowa football at its finest.
I mean, literally what we're talking about is how Iowa has been Iowa. There's 3 teams that come to mind that use this model, and it is Iowa, Minnesota, Illinois, right? It used to be Wisconsin. There's no coincidence that it's Illinois now because Brett Bielema, right? I don't think under Paul Crist that it was the same version of that. I think things were a little bit different schematically in what they were trying to do. But with Iowa, Illinois, and Minnesota, it's exactly what we're talking about. They just execute things at a super high level. I think they run relatively simple concepts, and that, yeah, they put wrinkles in there, things like that, but they are able to just execute things at a super high level. And with their level of talent, they're not only able to beat teams that are on the same level of talent as them, but that are more talented than them on a pretty regular basis. That, to me, is why Nebraska's had trouble with ranked teams. It's why they've had trouble in games, again, they quote unquote should win against teams that are not as talented, but that execute at a higher level. Nebraska's not so talented that they can make up for the lack of execution we've seen from them. And this goes well past the last few years with that rule through, multiple head coaches, right?
They don't have bailout players, like guys that will just, hey, we need this guy to step up and make a play that you grab on the sideline and be like,
we don't
go
have
do
the
that.
Amir Abdullah-McNeese State, right? And we had that to a certain extent with Emmett Johnson last year, but there's not enough bailout players on the roster where you can just say, that guy's going to go make a play.
Yep.
We can make up for the fact that we haven't executed very well for the last 3 drives. And same thing on the defense, right? That's where the lack of a dominant pass rusher has really shown up for Nebraska, because I think that's the place on the defense more than anything that your we'll call them makeup players, right? Your guys that can make up for a lack of execution or for whatever else is going on. I think defensive line is really the place, and specifically edge rushers, although, you have to throw like Ndamukong Suh's of the world in there who are just otherworldly dominant. But typically it's an edge rusher that just says, hey, I can get after the passer, I can get in the backfield at any time and ruin what you're doing. So it kind of allows everything else to shift into place where, hey, maybe we weren't executing at a super high level, but because of the outstanding plays that I'm making and the disruption that I'm making for the offense, everything's allowed to work out, and the defense is allowed to be successful in that sense. I don't know if Nebraska has that player on defense. They have some guys that I look at and I go, hey, that's possible, but that's why I think bringing in Rob Orich was really, really important, because he's a guy that simplifies things to a point where I think Nebraska can execute at a super high level, even if they don't have that game changer yet. Again,
it also makes your players play to the best of their ability, right? Because again, everything that you had said before, a more simple defense, simplicity at its finest. We've got this role. You're looking at this key. You're doing, this is your job in this role as a whole, that sort of thing. You say it all the time. You've said it multiple times today, but faster, violent, quick reaction, that sort of stuff is much easier when you're not considering every other factor that's going on.
Hesitancy makes you slow.
Yes.
Hesitancy makes you look like a bad athlete, right? That's why I think a lot of people have a hard time separating, and I don't blame them. I think a lot of people have a hard time separating the talent on the roster from the way it looks sometimes, because of the fact that when you are thinking through things in real time, and it's not, I think Kenny in here talked about muscle memory. When you have things that aren't muscle memory and you're not just instinctively executing these things, then it can make you look really slow. It can make you look really unathletic. It can make you look really untalented. I don't believe those things are true about Nebraska on either side of the ball. I'm not saying that they can compete with the Oregons and Ohio States of the world. What I am saying is I think the teams in the Big Ten that Nebraska needs to pass, whether it's Minnesota, Illinois, I would put Washington in that group as well. I do think executing at that level will make them look talented enough to pass those teams. Those are the teams on the schedule this year where you look at and go, okay, if Nebraska is able to execute at a high level, there is enough talent. It will look like there's enough talent on the field now to pass those teams, where last year, with a lot of the same pieces, Nebraska has some of the highest returning production numbers in the country. With those pieces, you can look at it and go, oh, well, maybe it's development, maybe it's physical development, maybe it's mental development, maybe it's scheme, in terms of just saying, hey, I'm being put in a position where my talent actually shows, as opposed to being put in a position where I have to think and I look unathletic.
What's the first game on the schedule that comes to mind that would give you that sense? Is it the Big Ten opener? Is it closer to Maryland? Could I make an argument that it's actually Indiana to see where they put themselves against a contender?
I think there's a couple places here.
I think my pick, and this is later in the year, so I wouldn't want to make this evaluation that late in the season. I feel like you'd make it sooner. But if you jumbled up and shook the entire schedule up, I would say it's Washington.
In a vacuum, like if I didn't go order of schedule, the teams that I think would be Washington's tough because I'm not saying they're a good football team.
Mm-hmm.
I think they have some distractions this
I
year.
don't think so, but yeah.
Well, I don't think they're going to be as good as people think they are this year because of some of the distractions they've had going on.
I think their projection's a bit high.
But I don't look at them and go, hey, I put them in the execution level of an Iowa or an Illinois or a Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
So like that one's a little tricky for me, but that would be a good example of Nebraska being able to beat a talented team with execution.
Okay.
The team, if I'm again disregarding
where it is in the schedule,
and I'm just saying in a vacuum, this is like it would be Iowa and Illinois. Those are the teams that I'd look at and say Iowa and Illinois are the ones that those are the measuring sticks for what we're talking about right now. What I do think is interesting, and I'm not a Pat Fitzgerald guy, but going on the road, first Big Ten game, and a guy that has sort of allowed Nebraska to beat themselves in the past, that's an interesting spot for me. You're going to, I don't think you'll fully know, but I think you'll get an indication on the first Big Ten game, September 26th, about, hey, are they on the right path? I don't think we'll get a full answer, right? We're not getting the answer key to the test on September 26th, but I think you're getting the study guide if we're using school terms and saying like, hey, this is a good idea of how the test is going to play out, how the rest of the semester is going to play out.
First road game too, you can throw that in there.
Yeah, these are some of the things you're going to need to know. I think because of the way Pat Fitzgerald has just been like, hey, like I think about that Ireland game all the time, and not just the onside kick, but just I remember the decisions Pat Fitzgerald was making with a very bad Northwestern team. 1-11 that year.
Yeah, he was playing a 60-minute game where it felt like Nebraska was going drive by drive.
He was
almost,
playing,
especially offensively.
He was playing eventually Nebraska will hand this to me. I remember thinking that in real time. There might be a tweet somewhere out there about that, about I legitimately remember thinking, oh, Fitzgerald's just waiting for Nebraska to hand this to him. And that was the most frustrating part about that game for me. Not the fact that Nebraska had an onside kick up 10 or whatever it was and totally unnecessary, right? It was the fact that Pat Fitzgerald was very clearly waiting for Nebraska to just screw up. And so that's why Michigan State is interesting to me, because I'm not super high on them on the season, but he does have that reputation in my mind of being a guy who is patient enough to allow his execution to outlast your execution.
There you go.
There we go. I think the most damning thing about the Nebraska loss yesterday was the fact that after taking a 31-28 lead with 11:34 left, Northwestern didn't attempt a single pass the rest of the game. Fitzgerald just hunkered down and bet Nebraska couldn't make winning plays. He was right. How did you find that so fast? That's incredible.
Listen, I'm an elite advanced searcher on theeggs.com.
That's exactly what I was talking about, though.
10:32 a.m., August 22nd, 2022.
That's exactly what I was talking about.
That's exactly right.
It was just a moment in time where I go, he's just waiting for Nebraska to ruin this.
Yep.
And it worked. It happened, right? It happened where they just said, yeah, Nebraska will give this to us at some point.
Fitzgerald is a more veteran coach than this, but it does make you wonder if that's what he will tell his team going in. He's like, listen, I know it's a different coaching staff. I haven't been around the block as long, but this is how Nebraska's worked before. Eventually they're going to hand it to you. So just stay in the game, stay in the game, stay in the game. And I wonder if he'll tell that to the Spartans as they get ready for that game.
I don't know if he'll make it Nebraska specific, but I bet he will say, hey, we just have to hang in there. We just have to hang around. Execute well enough to hang around. Don't hand them the game, and we'll see if they hand it to us, and then we'll take advantage of it,
and
right?
To be fair to what we were talking about in these last 20 minutes, I think it's something that when you get into those late stage big game jitters and the bug in your stomach that kind of creeps up, if you are super simplistic on offense, that makes 4-minute offense, 6-minute offense, and your execution so much easier because you're not striving for big save me plays. We talked about
you're relying on your training.
Exactly.
You're relying on that, and that's the big
and you're
thing.
relying on execution. You're relying on, hey, we've done this 30 times already. Yeah, we've done this 30 times this game. We did it 1 million times through fall camp.
Yeah.
We're good. We're good.
That's a great point. Is when you can win games without feeling like you have to go outside of yourself to win that game, that's a total.
Especially when having a lead. I think that's what's critical.
It's a total game changer.
Yeah, to not give a game away.
Or to just be in a close game and say, hey, I don't have to do anything special. I just have to keep doing what we do.
Mm-hmm.
And that to me is where I think, whether it's Rob Orich, whether it's Jeep Wade, where we started this conversation, or whether it's Dana Holgerson talking about, hey, we just got to make routine plays. And I think that's a big spot where Anthony Calandria will, yes, he's going to take some chances. That's who he is as a quarterback. And I think that's part of the reason they like him. But I also think he's highly capable coming from a Dan Mullen offense where there are a lot of similar concepts here. They come from slightly different trees, but a lot of similar concepts in what Dan Mullen has done historically and what Dana Holgerson likes to do historically in terms of how they get guys open, how they execute their offenses is, I think, a lot of what they're counting on Anthony Calandria from, and a lot of what we heard when TJ Lateef took over, specifically in the UCLA game, was, hey, just run the plays that are called, execute at the level we know you're capable of executing at, and we'll be fine. Stop trying to get into the perfect play. Perfection is unattainable. Strive for it, yes, but look for perfect execution, not perfect play calls. And I think that's going to be a huge difference between last year and this year.
I agree.
That's the show for today. It's Wednesday.
Football.
Lots of football today.
Lots of football. We talked some baseball.
We did.
We were a little too Lincoln-pilled. I thought you were getting nauseous there for a second.
I was. I had to wear the Miller North hat today because I knew.
Just a reminder.
I knew we were going to get a little Lincoln-y for my taste, and so just got to represent.
Wait, so which team beat the national champions then?
That would be your Miller North Mustangs.
Wow, that's interesting.
I hope that Lincoln East actually has a little bit of consolation in their heart that even though they weren't able to win the state championship, that you get the national championship's a good consolation prize for losing the Nebraska State Baseball Championship to the Miller North Mustangs.
That's so mean.
Oh, I'm proud of them. I'm happy for them.
This is like Ohio State not making the Big Ten championship, winning the national title. They'd be like, okay, but you didn't beat Michigan.
Yeah, I mean, didn't beat Miller North. That's Austin. I'm Ravi. We'll be back tomorrow. More Hurrdat Sports Live.
See you. Have a good day. Love you.